All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you're new. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you waiting patiently for the intro to finish up there. IP gaming, don't get me started, man. Don't get me started on that. I don't want to talk about that. But yeah, welcome to the stream. Uh, still not a whole lot going on. Dome reveal. I like the way you worded that. Dome reveal. You guys are insane. We're talking about a couple of PlayStation related things today. Nothing too crazy, but maybe something interesting, something that I feel like, we've covered it plenty of times in the past, but it's interesting because we have Digital Foundry. We have Digital Foundry coming in and bringing it up once again. And I just want to cover this with you. I saw it making the rounds yesterday. Digital Foundry says if the Xbox Series X is more powerful, why do some PS5 games run better? And this was actually written up by Richard Ledbetter. Why do I look so angry? I don't know. Maybe I just some tension today. I feel it. Feel the tension. I don't know. I don't mean to look angry. So I guess apologies if I look, pissed off or whatever. I don't know. Cypherpunk is saying, please no more talk about the Series L. We need to talk about the Series L, dude. We have to. We have to. Listen, I'll be honest. This is definitely not like, the first topic that I would want to discuss, truthfully. But when kind of looking around at, what's circulating right now regarding PlayStation that we haven't talked about or haven't talked about in a while, this is what pops up. But Cypherpunk, hang in there, man. Hang in there. We'll make it through. Try the first Ascendant. It's pretty fun. Yeah, I plan on trying that. I have it installed. So I'm gonna be giving that a shot. I've been hearing some good things. I'm hearing it's pretty fun. And it looks like extremely generic, truthfully. But from what I've seen and what people are saying, they're like, oh, it's not too bad. Not too bad. So I'll definitely give that a shot. And I'll talk about it, after I play it for a little bit. I'll talk about it, give you my thoughts on it. Maybe at some point we could do a stream. But yeah, we're going to talk about what Digital Foundry is saying here once again about the PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox Series X. Why is the PS5, not in all cases, but in certainly more than you would expect, why is it outperforming the Series X? What's going on there? But we have another interesting write-up. It's from Digital Foundry, but it's actually being reported on by WCCF Tech, where they're speculating that Unreal Engine 5, the full suite of features, could benefit from the PS5 Pro quite significantly. So obviously, we're just kind of like patiently waiting for Sony to actually reveal the PS5 Pro. But this is an interesting take. There was a big emphasis on the PS5 and Unreal Engine 5 when the PS5 was first revealed. So you have to wonder, what could the Pro do for Unreal Engine 5? It seems like UE5 has been kind of struggling a little bit on consoles to a certain extent. It's taken developers quite a bit of time to, figure it out. And we have the Leninator FFC, a member for 11 months, says, hey, have you tried the first Ascendant? 11 months went fast. Well, I appreciate that, buddy. No, we literally just mentioned that, how people are just playing the first Ascendant for the first time, and they're saying it's pretty good. They're saying it's pretty fun. So yeah, Leninator, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it in probably the coming days and give you guys my thoughts on it for sure. Can't say I'm like super stoked for it. It's like one of these things where I'm just desperate for a new multiplayer game right now, you know? And this is the only one like dropping, so I'm like, okay. Like I hope it's not bad. I hope it's fun. And we have Michael Lynch here with a $5 chat. Thank you with that. Yeah, I'm still playing Demon Souls as well. I'm just like grinding in Demon Souls pretty much, trying to level up. But Michael Lynch says better optimization. A Challenger Hellcat has more horsepower than a Porsche 911, but the 911 will smoke it around a track. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like throughout the years, I've seen a lot of people kind of comparing the PS5 and the Series X and like using, car analogies. That's like I'd say that's actually the most frequent analogy used. And it seems pretty apt, It does. Yeah, the thing that I find interesting about what Digital Foundry is saying is they have like quite a few different things that they kind of point to here. So it's like more than one thing, more than one reason, I guess you could say. We're going to talk about PlayStation Stars for anybody who cares about that and how it's actually coming back online after weeks of being down. So I guess somebody at Sony finally woke up and was like, oh, we should probably do something about this. Ghetto God, you're saying you went back to Death Stranding. You're going for the platinum. You're at 65%. Good stuff, man. Yeah, good luck. I remember getting the platinum for Death Stranding. It was a good time. It was a bit of a grind at the end. That I do remember. Like when you have to do all the missions. It was a bit of a grind. But a fun one. Kind of get addicted to that gameplay loop. Really interested to see more of Death Stranding 2. But yeah, guys, we're going to dive into these topics. Before we do, just as usual, you guys are the sponsors of the channel. So if you want to help support the channel, if you want to help support the community, well, simply just being here watching obviously helps. So thank you guys for that. Hit that like button for me to help out the stream. Consider becoming a channel member. You gain access to exclusive perks. Consider gifting memberships. I know a lot of people appreciate those membership gifts, give people access to those perks. And consider donating a super chat. Those are 3 direct ways you can help support the content. And there's a direct donation link as well for anybody who wants to donate directly to the content creator. That's pinned in the chat at the top. So feel free to do that. Appreciate all the support you guys continue to show the channel and the community. Well, let's start here with what Digital Foundry has to say about these consoles. It says, if the Series X is more powerful, why do some PS5 games run better? We finally have some answers. Interesting. They say here, on paper, the Xbox Series X is a considerably more powerful piece of hardware than the PlayStation 5. So why are we looking at a console generation where the Sony and Microsoft machines often deliver like-for-like results? It's a puzzle that has confounded many over the last few years, and after discussions with multiple sources, including some of the highest-profile AAA developers in the business, we finally have some answers, and it's all laid out in this week's edition of Digital Foundry Direct Weekly. So this is what makes this interesting, guys. This isn't just like a rehash. It's not just like, oh, let's just talk about the things we heard in the past. No, Digital Foundry actually reached out to sources and wanted to get some solid answers now that we're basically 4 years into the generation, talking to, as they put it here, some of the, how did they word it? Some of the highest profile AAA developers in the industry. Very interesting stuff here. It says here, in terms of technical specifications, the Xbox Series X is undoubtedly the most powerful console on the market, at least until the mooted PlayStation 5 Pro arrives. Its GPU hits 12 teraflops, augmented by a handsome amount of memory bandwidth, a max of 560 gigabytes per second. The PlayStation 5, 10.23 teraflops with GPU compute or of GPU compute is available, fed by 448 gigabytes per second of bandwidth. It's a clear divide then. If we were to see that specification comparison in the PC space, you'd expect to see the former handily outperform the latter. So, just kind of going over once again the biggest differences between the PlayStation 5 and the Series X. We have Chris Brown here saying 5 years later, Gears 5 is the only good optimized Xbox game. Well, you know what's interesting is before we continue this, I still see a lot of people kind of pointing to something like Hellblade 2. And it's such an awkward situation, in my opinion, because it's like, yeah, Hellblade 2 might be the best looking game ever made, potentially, if we were to like really break it down. But I just think it's comical that people don't realize, like, you do know, like, Sony's going to clear that bar, like, easily with the PS5, probably the base PS5, but also especially the Pro. So it's like, I get that when it comes to visuals and like how good a game can look, you get something like Hellblade 2 where it's like it's pushing the limit. It's like, yeah, that seems like that's all it's pushing is the limit of graphical fidelity. Have you seen what that game consists of gameplay wise? I've played that game. And it's like, I'm not trying to take anything away from it. I think that Hellblade 2 is a good showpiece for the Series X and the Series S. I'm sorry, I just got very distracted by the dude who says 1 × 1 = 2 according to Terrence Howard. All right. Sorry, that just caught my eye. Yeah, what's going on with that dude? What's going on with that dude? But anyway, I do think Hellblade 2 is a good showpiece for the Series X, but like I've tried to explain to people, and I know it's unfortunate because it's like, how have we not seen a new Naughty Dog game? But you really think, I'm just being serious, like or just being honest, you really think that when Naughty Dog, look, I don't know when they're going to show their new game. I don't even know if I'm going to be excited for their new game. I'm hoping I will be. But you really think Naughty Dog isn't going to easily clear Hellblade 2 graphically? If you don't see that that's clearly going to happen, you haven't been paying attention. Although I will say this. I will say we are getting to that point, though. We are getting to that point where graphics are getting so good. It's like, I don't know how much further it can go. No, you don't think so? Well, hey, man. We'll just wait to see what they deliver. But I think that what people don't maybe fully realize is that we haven't we haven't seen, like, I just want to remind people that it was Sony Studios that were kind of pushing the bar graphically last generation, and it wasn't just one studio, it was multiple studios from PlayStation pushing the bar graphically with the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. And it was like kind of shocking by the end of that generation. Like, again, we were looking at a game like The Last of Us Part 2, and it's just like, how the hell did they do this on PS4 hardware? How did they do that? And I don't know. That they're the pros. They know what they're doing. And does Hellblade 2 look better than The Last of Us Part 2? Yes, but you would hope it would, right? It's on a next generation engine. It's been in development like exclusively for next gen, or current gen, I should say, for multiple years. And it's a showpiece. It's a slow moving game. It's supposed to be like, the visuals are supposed to be the biggest part of that game. So you would hope it looks better than The Last of Us Part 2. But I'm just saying, like, dude, we haven't seen what Naughty Dog can do with just the PS5. But I think all of this is, I don't know, the whole idea of who's going to have the better looking games. I mean, I think that's easily going to go to Sony just because of the PS5 Pro. So it'll almost be like an unfair comparison where it's like, how does this game look on the Series X versus the PS5 Pro? It's like, well, Microsoft doesn't have a mid-gen refresh, so I don't think you like. It's going to be pretty funny to think that when we see Naughty Dog make a dedicated PlayStation 5 game, it's going to be a pro game, like a PS5 Pro. It's going to be like fully optimized for the PS5 Pro, and that's just that's interesting to think. Where it's like the last time we saw Naughty Dog release a new game was for the PS4 Pro, and we're going to see it again, but this time for the PS5 Pro, not even the base. I mean, we'll see it on the base PS5, of course, but I would have thought we would have seen it before that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I'm just curious, when we talk about what these consoles are capable of, the graphical fidelity, I do think Hellblade 2 is a great showpiece for the Series X. And even the Series S for that matter. But I really do wonder, some of these PlayStation studios, Sucker Punch, Naughty Dog. I mean, what can Gorilla do with a PS5 Pro? I don't know. Santa Monica. Like, again, these studios were kind of pushing the envelope last generation with what you could get out of the PS4. Like, how good you could, even like Kojima with Death Stranding, It's going to be really interesting to see, like, once these studios are finally ready, whenever that might be, how much further can it go from what we've seen with Hellblade 2? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Hellblade 2 is truly the upper limit of, like, this is about as good as it gets. I don't know. We're going to find out. But I have a lot of confidence. And we have Michael Lynch again saying Death Stranding 2 looks more impressive. You're saying it looks more impressive than Hellblade 2. Well, that's the thing, man. I have to see more of it. But yeah, like, I've tried to point out to people, and those of you who've been following the channel for a little while, like, I've tried to point out, not trying to like fanboy it here, but trying to tell people, like, have you guys seen like Death Stranding 2? Like, have you seen some of those screenshots? Like, it looks wild. Like, it looks insane. And it's just weird that, like, listen, I think people are kind of latched on to Hellblade, like certain people, like Xbox fanboys. I think they're kind of latched on to Hellblade 2 because it's like, well, we need something to. Like, we need something to kind of brag about. But that's about it, Like, I mean, you mentioned like Gears 5, and yeah, Gears 5 is a very good looking game as well. That's a stunner, I would say. But it's just like, yeah, well, Sony has Death Stranding 2 coming, and that game looks wildly impressive. Like, if you and the biggest difference, though, and this is the big thing, the biggest difference between Death Stranding 2 and a game like Hellblade 2, not trying to like compare them directly, but it's like, if we're comparing them on like a graphical, playing field, yeah, maybe they go toe to toe. In terms of what they offer as a game, as a complete package, they couldn't be more different. You know what I mean? Like, Death Stranding 2 is going to be a massive game, an open world. And it's probably going to have a lot of gameplay mechanics. I mean, Death Stranding had quite a few gameplay mechanics, more than I think people gave it credit for, to be frank. And I imagine Death Stranding 2 is going to build off that and have even more. So it's like, that there's something to be said for that as well. Like, when we're talking, because it's not just about graphics at the end of the day. I think a game like Hellblade 2, if anything, and we've seen this with games like the Order 1886 from Sony, these games kind of prove that, like, graphics can really only go so far until people start to ask, but, like, what else do you do? You know what I mean? Like, where's the rest of the game? Where's the rest of the gameplay? How deep does this gameplay go? People will start to ask those questions. And that's why I think the PS5 Pro is going to be such an interesting piece of hardware, because I do think we're going to see some crazy things on the PS5 Pro graphically, but I also know that, like, they're going to be trying to make really fun playing games, like games with a lot of depth. At least that's my hope, right? That's my expectation. But let me continue with what Digital Foundry saying here. Got a bit distracted there. So it said again that if we were to see the specification comparisons of the PS5 and the Xbox Series S in the PC space, you would expect to see the Series X handily outperform the PS5, except that hasn't happened this generation. By and large, the closest console generation we've ever seen in the bulk of multi-platform releases. The differences are fairly minimal. Holy crap, Leigh, I didn't even know you were in here. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, what are you doing? Well, what? Dude, I didn't even know she was in here. And now she's walking on the desk. She never does that. What is going on? I specifically made sure Boss wasn't in here until later if we hit our member goal. But geez, man, she legitimately just freaked me out. She must have been hiding somewhere. Anyway. Josh, you're saying with a super chat 178 hours later, and I finally beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Still tons of side stuff left. Fantastic gameplay and combat system, but bro, the game is so long, too long. You know what's weird is, like, even though I didn't beat it and I got like halfway through, I kind of get what you're saying, man. Like, I felt like even though I was only halfway through, like, that could be a game. You know, like, they could have broke this up into like 4 parts, man, if they really wanted to, with all of the side stuff that they added. But congratulations, Josh. Congrats on beating FF7 Rebirth. Are you planning on doing all of the side stuff? I'm assuming you're not. You sound like you're pretty satiated with the game. You know? Like, you're saying it took a little bit too long, so I'm assuming after 178 hours, you feel like you got your fill. But good stuff, man. Good stuff. Dark Horse, I can agree with that. You're saying maybe instead of people downplaying a video game and its graphics, why can't people appreciate the artwork? Yeah, I do think that a game's art direction, in a lot of cases, can be more impactful than, just overall graphical fidelity. I think Elden Ring, is a great example of like how art direction can just do a staggering amount of heavy lifting. The art direction of Elden Ring is just like kind of unmatched. And it doesn't have like the greatest graphical fidelity that we've ever seen, but that artwork and the art style, it kind of like doesn't matter at that point, So I agree. We always have to have an appreciation for art direction as well. The article continues here, except that hasn't happened this generation. By and large, it's the closest console generation we've ever seen, and in the bulk of multi-platform releases, the differences are fairly minimal. One machine may outperform the other, or vice versa. Sometimes, where there are differences, it comes down to variances in dynamic resolution scaling, which often looks invisible in A to B comparisons. It's a far cry from the Xbox One X versus the PS4 Pro face-off, where the Microsoft machine commanded an obvious advantage, or the PS4 versus Xbox One comparison, where the Sony machine typically held a similarly noticeable lead. So after a few years of conversations with developers, what's the explanation? How can a less capable machine outperform the more powerful one? As seen recently in our Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree coverage, the frame rate difference in favor of PS5 is surprising, bearing in mind it's apparently the less capable machine. We've heard some interesting theories over the years, such as how the Xbox Series X's split memory setup, the 560 gigabyte bandwidth on fast memory with 336 gigabytes on slow memory, may be impacting performance. But the number one reason we've heard from developers concerns the nature of Sony's development environment. More than one key AAA developer tells us that the PlayStation GPU compiler is significantly more efficient than the Microsoft alternative, meaning that there's better utilization of the graphics hardware. In general, we understand that the lower level API access afforded to PlayStation development means games make more from the hardware. Game makers get more from the hardware, excuse me. So there we go. I mean, that's at least one thing that apparently AAA devs are telling Digital Foundry, that it's the PlayStation GPU compiler. It's significantly more efficient than what Microsoft is offering. And Josh with another super chat here says, when I was halfway, I thought I was at the end. Surprised how big it was. I'm moving to the 2 Stellar Blade, and I've been dying to jump back into Helldivers 2. Yeah, dude. You got, I guess at this point, you know, this is I would say this is a good time, though. The timing of this seems good to me, Josh, because you just finished FF7 Rebirth. I mean, there are certainly games coming out in July, but it seems relatively dry for a little bit, for like maybe the next 5 to 6 weeks, you know? So this would be a good time, I would say, to have something like Stellar Blade, since you haven't played it, to fall back on, but also diving back into Helldivers 2. We have Money here with a super chat saying, Digital Foundry said Hellblade 2 is the best looking game they've ever seen. I believe it. Yeah, I do think graphically Hellblade 2, as of right now, it could be the best looking game ever made. But, you know, I just wonder, again, like, what... You know what my real question is with Hellblade 2? My real question is, like, how much further does it go from there? It's just, like, this is a serious question. Like, I don't know. I don't know how much further does it go? I mean, you're talking about a game that's developed with the latest technology that is hyper focused on having the most extreme graphical fidelity, the most realistic depiction of like people we've ever seen, you know, graphically. How much further does it go? I guess I'm wondering about this because it's like, if that is if we are seeing like the upper limit of what a game can look like, it's unfortunate that Hellblade 2 seems to falter in the area of like, I don't know, like I'm just trying to, I guess what I'm wondering at this point is, Naughty Dog, I think they're going to match, at the very least, I think they're going to match Hellblade 2's fidelity. But I wonder, are they going to be able to show like, hey, look, we can make a game that looks this good, but we can also have like some amazing next level gameplay as well. That's, I really think, what people are kind of waiting for, you know? They're looking for that kind of pop of like, holy shit, look at how good this game looks graphically. Like, this looks next gen, but also just this pop of like, and this gameplay looks amazing, you know? And I feel like, truthfully, that's where Hellblade 2 could have had the best of both worlds, but I think they dropped the ball on the gameplay side. So I guess I'm just like wondering if maybe by the end of this generation, what we're going to see are some games coming that look as good as Hellblade 2, but also deliver on a gameplay front in a way that, you know, we were maybe hoping Hellblade 2 would have delivered in. Because that would be pretty good, dude. I gotta say, like, that would be pretty good. We have Digital Dude 25 with the $2 chat saying best looking game, and that's about it. Yeah, it is unfortunate, man. I talked about that. It is unfortunate that, like, that's the thing I don't understand. When we look at Naughty Dog's gameplay, right? Like, if you look at the gameplay of The Last of Us Part 2, I've always said that the gameplay of The Last of Us Part 2 is insane. Like, it's awesome. It's intense. And you're getting the whole package, you know? You're getting the whole package. I think the reason why a lot of Sony studios get the type of praise they do is because when they drop their game, And this is where I think people are sometimes a bit disingenuous. Like, not everybody, but some people on the internet are like way too disingenuous. Where it's like, oh, the movie games. It's like, what? Like, have you played these games? They're not like, yeah, they have cutscenes. They are cinematic in some ways, but they're mostly games. You know, like when I think of like God of War Ragnarok, like, yeah, that game has a ton of cutscenes, a ton of dialogue, but it has a massive amount of gameplay. Like, more gameplay than cutscenes, more gameplay than dialogue. You know, by the end of it. So, but all of it's really fun and really engaging. And that's why I just think it's strange that, like, I don't know. I don't know if like people are taking it for granted at some point or what. Rudy, you're saying I didn't play Burning Shores. It looks just as good. Yeah, that's true. I did miss out on that. Money, you're saying since when does gameplay matter when it comes to graphics? Oh, come on, Money. Come on, you know. Gameplay always matters. Gameplay always matters. Like, listen, man. I would much rather, and this is just the brutal truth. Like, I would much rather, you know, if Ghost of Tsushima 2 came out and it didn't look that improved graphically, like it definitely looked a little bit better, but not as good as you would think. But instead, like, they've enhanced the gameplay in all these different areas by a significant margin. And they were basically like, yeah, so we decided like spend much more time focused on just like making massive gameplay improvements and innovations. And because of that, we weren't able to really like do the absolute most graphically. I would actually prefer that rather than it be the other way around. You know what I mean? Obviously, we want a good balance. We want a good balance with all of this stuff. But but yeah, man, it's always about the gameplay first, no matter what. No matter how much we talk about power in the consoles, no matter how much we talk about graphical fidelity, I just think that really it's always about having a balance. That's my general expectation. My general expectation with AAA games that are trying to, be the biggest and the best, my expectation is there has to be a good, healthy balance of how good the game looks, the focus on the graphical fidelity, but the gameplay, the depth of the gameplay, the amount of gameplay, and some story, and the characters, the story you're trying to tell, it all has to kind of work in unison and it has to blend very well. And yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading some of the chat here. Yeah, I do wonder what Ghost of Tsushima is going to look like, because when we talk about like art direction, I think art direction carried Ghost of Tsushima in a big way. Not, and that's a compliment. Like, I think that the game graphically did look very good, but I think it was the pop of the art direction, that really made people kind of go, "Whoa, like that looks really nice." Um, and I think, I don't think Ghost of Tsushima was on the same level when it comes to sheer raw graphical fidelity as games like God of War, games like The Last of Us 2. But what made up for that again was that art direction. And so I'm like curious to see if they can carry that art direction over with an even higher level of graphical fidelity. I think Ghost of Tsushima could end up being one of the best looking games we ever see, personally. Personally. We got Rich Rod 908 saying, MB Gangstas, we own Xbox Wangstas, Jump P. Spencer. Rich Rod 908 once again coming in with his violent tendencies towards Xbox and Phil Spencer specifically. Obviously, I'm not gonna advocate for that. Let's say no to violence. There has to be a better way. But Rich Rod, I appreciate the super chat, bud. Thank you for making me read that once again. I know you live for it. Let's continue with the article here. It says the second most common explanation we received from developers concerns the nature of the GPU itself. Mark Cerny himself discussed this way back in March of 2020 when he revealed the technical specifications of the PS5. While the console may have fewer compute units than the Xbox Series X, 36 versus 52, the entire GPU runs faster, meaning that certain tasks will complete faster, better suiting certain game engine designs. The extent of this advantage was always an unknown, as PS5 operates with a boost clock on both the CPU and the GPU. Maximum clock speeds will be limited by a power limit on the processor. However, we have yet to hear any complaints from developers about the boost clock unduly impacting GPU performance. And in terms of raw numbers, there's an interesting tidbit from the recently leaked PlayStation 5 Pro developer documentation. Engaging the CPU boost option, which increases clock speeds by 10%, only sees GPU performance drop by 1%, effectively negligible then. So based on our conversations, the combination of a more efficient GPU compiler, lower level APIs, and higher clock speeds allows PlayStation 5 to match or even exceed the outputs of the Xbox Series X in some scenarios. That said, of course, there is value in the approach Microsoft has taken. By standardizing on DirectX 12 and DXR ray tracing API, there is a commonality with PC development that obviously helps game makers. And of course, Xbox does still have more compute units throughout, so game engines that tap into that will see advantages. Additionally, there are situations where the Xbox ecosystem and feature set yields dividends. For example, while Elden Ring may run faster on PlayStation 5, Sony's limited implementation of variable refresh rate support means that we would much rather play the game on the Series X. It's just a smoother and more consistent experience. At this point, having heard the same set of points from a range of entirely unrelated developers means it's effectively a case closed on this particular topic. And we'd expect to see a similar situation play out across the rest of the generation. The PlayStation 5 Pro, that's going to be interesting. We'd expect it to lean into the same strengths that made the PS5 competitive and go beyond. PSSR machine learning based upscaling should act as an effective multiplier of sorts on its increased GPU performance. This discussion is just one small part of their Digital Foundry Direct Weekly. So obviously they talk about much more. But yeah, I thought this was pretty interesting. Again, it's a slow time for gaming news and for PlayStation, but considering this is something that we've been talking about since the launch of these consoles, it's cool that Digital Foundry basically did a little bit more digging, talked to developers, especially since developers have been working with both the PS5 and the Series X for multiple years now, and basically just trying to figure out like what really is the cause of this. And it just seems to me that it boils down to, to put it as simply as I possibly can, the fact that Mark Cerny was able to focus on a completely custom piece of hardware that was in no way tethered to PC or anything, right? Like, it's just about the single piece of hardware and customizing it to make it as efficient as you possibly can, while also understanding that you're not going to be, you can't make like a $600 or $700 machine. I think that's basically what it comes down to, man, is the fact that Mark Cerny has direct experience as a developer. He's been a developer for many years, so he knows the development environment very well. He talks to developers to figure out, like, what is it that you guys want from the hardware, and he just, he seems to have this kind of understanding that there has to be certain customizations made that maybe most people wouldn't necessarily think of. Because I do remember when the PS5 was first revealed, people were shocked at how overclocked like the GPU was. They're like, whoa, how is that even possible? And then when we heard Mark Cerny explain how, the basically the power, like how much power it's outputting can kind of fluctuate and be tweaked based on the game. The developers can kind of mess with that, you know, kind of have it go up and down. And that did worry some people. Were like, uh-oh, like how much of a limiting factor is that going to be? And that's why I thought it was interesting that Digital Foundry kind of pointed out that as of right now, it has not been a limiting factor. It just seems like Mark Cerny's focus on making a custom console and the biggest emphasis being on this console needs to be the easiest console to develop for. The dev environment for the PS5 needs to be as simple as it can be, the easiest it can be. And sure, that might mean it's going to have less teraflops. That might mean it has less memory bandwidth. That might mean on paper it's less powerful. But that's where I feel like maybe Microsoft's biggest flaw was they got caught up in the whole power narrative, and I kind of can't blame them. Like, I think Sony maybe got in their head, last generation with the Xbox One and the PS4. I mean, yeah, if I was Microsoft, dude, every week seeing a new headline written up about, this game has a higher, is at native 1080p on the PS4 and 720p or 900p on the Xbox One, and there was the resolution wars, and that's why Microsoft came back with a vengeance with the Xbox One X, and the Xbox One X was significantly more powerful than the Pro. Like, we could see that. And I can understand the mentality, I guess, from Microsoft's point of view, where they're like, we need to like go in harder. We need to go in all the way. We need to lean into the power factor. We need to make sure we have the most powerful console, no matter what. I could see why that was so important to Microsoft, but maybe that's kind of what ended up tripping them up in the end, because it seems like Microsoft was more focused on the power factor, not focused enough on the dev factor, right? On the development environment. And like, that's great that you have all that power. That's great that you have 12 teraflops and 56 compute units, and it definitely is more powerful than the PS5. But how easy is this thing going to be to develop for? Is it going to be much more difficult than the PS5? And then you have the fact that the Series S exists. You have the fact that the Xbox isn't selling as well. It just seems like basically the Xbox console is everything that could possibly work against it, working against it. Sean Mitchell, thank you for the super chat, buddy. You're saying, don't know if you covered this, MBG. Did you see Konami came out and said that they would love to work with Kojima again? Would love Fizzant to pan out like a Moby Dick studio situation. That's the dream. Yeah, we did cover this yesterday, Sean. So I'll talk about it for a moment here in regards to your super chat, but I will recommend, if you want to hear like my really in-depth thoughts, it was the last topic of yesterday's stream. But just to be brief with it here, I do think it's cool that Konami is kind of extending that olive branch. I do think it's probably not going to happen. I do think that Kojima has fully moved on, and I think he's okay with acknowledging Metal Gear and obviously talking about it to an extent, because it's his creation, right? He worked on it almost his whole career. But I think when it comes to his future, I think he's focused on, newer stuff. I think he's probably, when it comes to Fizzant, for example, I think that's going to be, I fully expect Fizzant to be extremely reminiscent of Metal Gear. Like, I almost feel like Fizzant is going to be Metal Gear Solid 6. It's going to be new characters, new world, new everything, but you're going to see like similarities. It's going to be a spiritual successor. And I think that to be like, I'm not saying Kojima has like, I'm not saying he's like petty like this. I don't think he is, but there's probably a part of him that kind of wants to prove like, I don't need Konami for this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need the Metal Gear name to make this type of game that I want to make. I don't need the name. I don't need the company. I can do it on my own, or I can do it with Sony. I could do it with another partner. I think that's what Fizzant is ultimately going to be. Is it's going to be a very obvious return to form for Kojima, where it's like, yeah, that looks like Metal Gear. Looks a little bit different, but that's like Metal Gear right there. It's like, yeah, that's and we're gonna and there's not gonna be the Konami logo. There's not gonna be like I'm telling you, Fizzin is gonna feature a main character that's probably very reminiscent of Snake. It's probably gonna be a famous actor. It's probably gonna be Keanu Reeves. Let's be real. It's gonna be Keanu Reeves. Kojima's gonna get Keanu Reeves. He's gonna play this character, and he's gonna be very reminiscent of Snake. And we're gonna be like, damn. But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, Sean. It would be very cool to see Kojima be able to work directly with Metal Gear again, but I think that ship has sailed. Like the more I think about it, the more I think like, yeah, I think that ship has sailed. Kojima's involved in Death Stranding. He's involved in a Death Stranding movie. He's involved in OD, working with Jordan Peele and Microsoft. He's finishing up Death Stranding 2. He's working on Fizzin. I just don't. I don't think. I think even if he wanted to, I don't think he could. I don't think he could. I think he has too many things he's juggling right now. Where it's like, yeah, I mean, how do you even make time for that? Could be Norman Reedus. Yeah, that I feel like that would be a little underwhelming, only because like Norman has already starred in Death Stranding 1 and 2. So if he gets a famous actor to be the main protagonist of Fizzin, I would like it to be somebody else. Or maybe it'll be a female. Maybe it'll be an actress. Either way, I'm excited, man. Fizzin is so many years away, though, dude. Could be Rick Grimes. That would be really funny. Andrew Lincoln. Yeah, he gets Norman Reedus for Death Stranding and then Andrew Lincoln for Fizzin. You just have to ask yourself, at what point do they team up? At what point do these universes cross over? So thank you for the super chat, Sean. But just to finish up this topic and this conversation about the power factor, the PS5 outperforming the Series X, I do think that we can lay this topic to rest, like, for good. And I think that's kind of unfortunate because it feels like if we look back to 2020 when these consoles launched, we compare it to where we are now, it feels like it's been a full 180-degree turn, and that turn is about to fully complete. Like right now, it's at like 165, 170 degrees, and it's going to fully lock in the coming months to 180-degree full turn. The reason why I say that is because we're about to see Sony like double down on the PS5 with the Pro. And I know that there's a lot of people who are like, yo, the Pro is useless. We don't need a Pro. And I get it, but they're doing it anyway. And the PS5 Pro will, for at least a couple of years, be the most powerful console in the world by a large margin. That's the important thing to understand here, is when the PS5 Pro drops, it's not just going to be slightly more powerful. If we look at how the PS5 Pro will stack up against the base PS5 and against the Series X, it's going to be like a wide gap. And I'm just kind of really fascinated to see how far that goes. Like when we go from the PS5 Pro to the PlayStation 6. And then when we look at Microsoft, I feel like Microsoft basically started this generation really confident, gung-ho, like power factor, got a Hellblade 2 reveal, we're taking it to Sony, we're serious, we're locked in, and it just didn't work. Halo Infinite missed its launch window, it got delayed. Microsoft didn't have like a launch lineup. Sony had a great launch lineup. Sony got, had the momentum of the PS4 on their side, and it just seems like somewhere along the way, it seems like the Xbox console, in terms of it being direct competition to PlayStation, it seems like that died in the last like year and a half or so. And that's what I think is so weird, because it's like, is it just me, or does anybody else find it kind of weird that we're about to see like a PS5 Pro and then it's like, that's it? Like there isn't going to be something else there to like match the Pro and compete against it. Like we're not going to see Microsoft come out and be like, here's the Xbox Series XXL or some shit, like we're not seeing that. So it's just going to be the Pro. I think that's weird, man. Like I would have not expected that. We have a Mithranyo coming in, dropping a single membership gift. Thank you for that, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The support there. Add that to the counter. Good stuff, man. Yeah, that's true. Microsoft announced they're going to be putting Game Pass or something on Amazon Fire Sticks or whatever. Yeah, it'll be interesting, man. It'll be interesting. I wonder if Microsoft is basically just done with this generation, and maybe they're going to put all their stock in the next one. But I don't know. I think the competition between the high end consoles, the PlayStation and the Xbox, I think it's over. I do. I think that like when we see the PlayStation 6 and when we see the next gen Xbox, I think there's going to be major differences. And I think the biggest difference you're going to see is that Microsoft's not going to care if you buy their console. And I think that's important to highlight because I remember when we saw the Series X, like again, Microsoft seemed like they very much cared. Like they really want you to buy their console. They're out here trying, man. They're really trying. And Sony wanted that too, but Sony won that battle. And I just feel like this time around, and maybe that could work out for Microsoft, where like, I don't know, maybe having like a kind of nonchalant attitude, like we don't care what Sony's doing. This is our console. If you like it, go buy it. If not, buy a Fire Stick. Subscribe to Game Pass. Play on your PC. We don't care. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that could work for them, like better than trying to push a console would at this point. But yeah, we're going to find out, man. But this generation definitely didn't play out the way that I thought it would. I remember looking back at 2020, there were certain moments where I was pretty convinced, like, oh, damn, dude, PS5's in trouble. Like, do you see how powerful this Series X is? Like, I'm hearing what people are saying. But then it became clear that, like, the power factor was not enough to convince people to buy a Series X because Sony was out here showing games, dude. And I try to remind people of that, I do try to remind people of that like, I know this generation hasn't been the best. And right now it's definitely feeling like it's starting to drag. Absolutely, I can agree with that. This generation is starting to drag. Like, I think hopefully they can get the excitement factor back in the coming months. But I do try to remind people that, like, Sony had a killer, like, lineup for the PS5 at launch and for, like, the first year or two. It's, like, kind of insane output. Not just from their own studios, but partners as well. And, yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see what happens. You think lack of competition will make Sony complacent? It's hard to determine because, like, Sony's working on the PlayStation 6 right now. Mark Cerny's working on it. Like, would Mark Cerny be... I don't know. Like, is Sony going to tell him no? I don't think Mark Cerny's going to get complacent. I don't think Mark Cerny's out here trying to like, I know we make jokes and stuff, but like when Mark Cerny was developing the PS5, I don't think he was trying to destroy the Xbox console. Like I definitely don't think that was his mentality. Not even close. I think Mark Cerny's mentality was, I really want to try to make a powerful next-gen machine that is affordable and easy to develop for and give it the best possible chance of success. I think that's exactly what he's going to do with the PlayStation 6, but also maybe this time there's a bit of an added pressure where it's like it's going to be even harder this time. Now you have the PS4, the PS5, we're reaching a point where, like, our console's still relevant, Mark? Well, you're going to be a big part in determining how relevant they remain. So I do wonder, like, if Mark Cerny has these really interesting ideas and he's like, oh, I have this breakthrough in console technology and engineering, if Sony's like, yeah, no, that's too expensive. We really don't need that. tone it down. Like, I would hope not. I think that would be pretty garbage, and I just don't see Sony being like that. You know, I think Sony trusts Mark Cerny at this point, where I think whatever Mark comes up with, he's going to have limitations, of course. You know, that's the whole point of that's the whole challenge of developing a console is you do have to work with certain limitations. But I don't know, man. I don't think Sony's going to get in his way. So again, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think Sony will operate going into the PlayStation 6. They will operate at a high level regardless of what Microsoft is doing. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe not across every discipline. You know, like if Microsoft really is showing signs like, oh yeah, they're done, dude. Like this is well beyond over. I think Sony will take advantage of certain things. You know, I'd be shocked if they didn't, but we're not quite there yet. So we won't know until we get there. PlayStation 6 will have an AI copy of Mark Cerny built in. The complacency would come from the software, not the hardware. No, I don't think it would be either, Steranko, to be honest. I don't think Sony would get complacent with the software or the hardware because I don't think developers are going to stop developing their asses off. Like, I think they're still going to try to make the best possible games, you know, regardless of whoever's doing whatever else. I think when we talk about complacency, I think we're really talking about business practices. And I think there's this kind of fear that if there isn't a high-end console competitor to keep Sony in check, then Sony's going to go nuts, you know, with pricing and just thinking like, hey, we're out here alone. Nobody can stop us. We can charge as much as we want. But that's the thing, man, is look at the way people have been talking about Sony for the past couple of years. A lot of people are convinced that that's already where we are. Like, oh, a $200 DualSense, a $200 PlayStation Portal. We're going to get a probably $600 PS5 Pro, $200 earbuds. And I get it. Like, the shit is not cheap. And I totally get why people would look at that and be like, what the, like, dude, Sony, like, chill. Like, this stuff's expensive. Like, what, why, like, why? Why is everything so expensive? What's going on here? But if you look at the data tells you that people, like fans at the very least, like people are supporting the stuff that Sony's doing. So, you know, I guess the question, it really comes down to like how far can Sony really go with this type of stuff? You know, does Sony have the mentality like we can charge $700 for a PS5 Pro and they'll eat it right up? Like, I would hope not, because I don't feel that way. Like, I wouldn't be excited for a $700 PS5 Pro. I'd be like, what the? I'd be like, Sony, are you out of your mind? Why is this $700? You know, like that console would have to do like the craziest shit I've ever seen to get me excited to pay $700 for it. But then again, I mean, you know, it's one of these things where for somebody like me, ultimately, truthfully, I probably would buy that console because I'm an enthusiast. Like, I'm like, yeah, that shit excites me. But I would also understand like why regular, like non-enthusiast gamers would be like, damn, Sony, like you really don't care, do you? Like you really will just price gouge now. Like I would be like, yeah, that's shitty. Like I don't, you know, that is a real fear where I don't want to see Sony go in that direction. And the way I view it is there is an upper limit to all of this. You know what I mean? Like Sony can only push it so far until there's a line, there's a limit where like it doesn't really matter whether there's competition or not. Like people are just not going to buy this shit. People are not going to pay for it. It's too expensive. You know what I mean? There is a limit. I think we see that with something like PSVR 2 to an extent, where it's like, I think PSVR 2 kind of tested the waters to see like, all right, how far can this go? It's like, well, you're putting out a peripheral that's more expensive than the base console. That might be the limit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that that's really going to take off the way you might have thought it would. And we have Jason Bourne here with the $10 chat saying Microsoft needs to give the money to Sega and bring them back. Although I know Sega has the funds to return, but choices, but chooses not to. That would, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, dude. Is apparently, I'm not saying Sega would get involved with this. It would certainly be an interesting turn of events if Dreamcast 2 coming out. Apparently, what Microsoft's going to do is essentially license out the Xbox platform to any company that wants to make an Xbox console. Now, I don't know how, I don't know if they could, could we see Sega, like the Sega Xbox? I don't know that would be worth it for Sega. I don't know if that'd be worth it, but we do know, based off of multiple rumors, that that's apparently something Microsoft is planning to do with the next generation of Xbox console, and that's very different. That's like very similar to what we see them do in the PC space, where they make the Surface product, but then they license out the actual. And that's the thing. Like, does it need to be called an Xbox? It's like, no, you don't have to call an Xbox, but you have to use our gaming operating system, I guess, like the store, the dashboard, the storefront. Game Pass has to be there. I'm really curious to see like how that works out and how Microsoft's approach for that is going to be, because I don't know, man, that could kind of open the door to let certain companies basically do what they want hardware wise and call it what they want, but it will basically be an Xbox it's the Xbox ecosystem put into a piece of hardware that the company calls it what they want. It's gonna be super weird if that happens. It's basically a PC at that point. I don't know what that looks like, dude. I don't even know what that looks like. It's such a weird thing. But Jason, I do appreciate the super chat, buddy. Samsung needs to make a console. They could, dude. That's why I'm saying, like, we got to see how these companies respond to it. Like, if it's true that Microsoft is going to basically allow other companies to make their own version of Xbox, I really wonder how some of these companies would respond. I wonder what Sony would think of that. And you got to think, what would be in it for the companies themselves? What would be in it for the companies themselves? Maybe it would be Microsoft's way of trying to, like, team up with some bigger companies. Like, think about it, right? We know that, like, companies like Amazon and Google, they've been interested in, like, gaming. I don't know if this would be like appealing to them, where it's like, oh, maybe we can get involved in the hardware space. Like Microsoft provides the ecosystem, the storefront. They have everything kind of already put together, and we just make a box and we put our logo on it. And I don't know. It'd be really strange. It'd definitely be a first, I think. At least I feel like it would be a first for the console space. Has this happened before in the console space? I don't recall. I wouldn't be shocked, I guess, if it was attempted on like a really small scale in the past. But I don't think Sony would ever do something like that. The dude you're saying it has. When? The 3DO. And Jason Bourne with another super chat says, so the Sega Saturn was made by a few different companies overseas. Also the 3DO. Oh, okay. I never knew that. So it's been a long time then. And it sounds like it didn't work out too well. Damn, dude. That's crazy to think that we might see Microsoft return to that after all this time, all these years. Yeah, I don't think Sony would ever do something like that. I think Sony is always going to make their own hardware. and just keep their stuff like not locked to it, but like, you know, always try to provide some kind of like incentive. Well, I will move on to the second part of this conversation. This is a write up from WCCF Tech where it says the Unreal Engine 5 has yet to reach its full potential, but mid gen refresh hardware like the PlayStation 5 Pro could help the engine make the jump in terms of visual quality that many already expected to see. Answering a question from a fan, the tech experts at Digital Foundry highlighted how better console hardware like the rumored PS5 Pro could definitely drive developers to use the full suite of Unreal Engine 5 features, including Lumen and Nanite, delivering higher quality visuals with more stable performance. Even features that are supported by released games could see an improvement. Hellblade 2, for example, is one of the most impressive games powered by the latest version of Epic's engine to date, but it only features software Lumen. A PlayStation 5 Pro with better specs over the base model and increased ray tracing performance, for example, could be able to use hardware Lumen and give console players a taste of what is already possible to achieve on PC with much better hardware. It's kind of ironic that they're using Hellblade 2 as the example. There was that rumor that Hellblade 2 is eventually going to come to PS5. So I don't know. Is Hellblade 2 PS5 Pro Enhanced, is that going to be a thing? That'd be so weird. It says even in its current state, however, the Unreal Engine 5 can deliver some impressive visuals as highlighted by multiple tech demos. The Feudal Japan demo, powered by Unreal Engine 5.4, delivers some impressive visuals even at 1080p resolution, but performance at native 4K leaves quite a bit to be desired, even on a powerful GPU like the RTX 4080, as shown in a video by Max Benchmarks PC. And so, yeah, maybe that's not the most surprising thing, but I don't know, man. I think more and more games are going to be developed on Unreal Engine 5 as we go forward. And because of this, I do wonder if one of the kind of like hidden benefits of the PS5 Pro, if you want to call it that, that we haven't really seen discussed very much. Because I don't know, when I think of the PS5 Pro, I'm focused mainly on what is, like what is Naughty Dog going to do on the Pro? What kind of patches we're going to get for games that are already out. I'm like focused on stuff like that. I didn't really think about the fact that, yeah, Unreal Engine 5 seems to somewhat struggle a bit on the base PS5 as well as the Series X to an extent. Like it's, obviously the engine is still a work in progress itself, but the timing of the PS5 Pro coming out and the fact that more games than ever before are probably going to be built on Unreal Engine 5, I do wonder if the Pro will kind of come in somewhat, I don't say clutch, but like really be able to kind of help out games that are using this engine in a relatively significant way. Because it seems like the biggest problem with Unreal Engine 5, from what I can tell, is like 4K resolution. Like anytime you try to increase the resolution, it just like really, really eats up the performance. And so I also wonder, man, we know that again, Sony kind of partnered with Epic Games at the launch of the PS5. They partnered with them to kind of show off that tech demo. I wonder if maybe they're prepping something once again for the PS5 Pro. I could see it. Native 4K is a waste. Yeah, I think everybody's beginning to kind of settle on that. Like native 4K like really is kind of a waste of resources. And that's why Sony is going to roll out the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. It take frame rate over resolution any day. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that too. As I've kind of settled into 60 FPS performance modes, I can still play games at 30 FPS, but it is definitely not the ideal way to play anymore. Because the one thing that really kind of blew my mind is the realization, and I know it should seem kind of obvious, like, well, everybody knows about that. It's like, well, yeah, I guess I just didn't really think about it. But the biggest thing that kind of blew my mind is when I would play these games in fidelity mode, and I'm like, man, this looks so good. Is it just a simple realization that, like, but when you're moving around, like when you're moving the camera around and stuff, like you really just don't notice it. Like you really only notice it if things are very slow moving or completely still. And that's when I was just like, yeah, you know what? That right there to me is why frame rate has to be king, right? Because it's like, yeah, I don't notice it when I'm moving the camera around and you know, it's all over the place. It's just not like the fidelity is not clear or as clear, you know? I can really only truly appreciate the higher fidelity when it's either extremely slow moving or completely still. But there's no denying that if we could get the best of both worlds, that would be ideal, right? I think everybody would want that on console. For those who do play on console, like being able to, like, again, I'm playing Demon Souls right now, and and it would be great to play that game in the full fidelity mode at a smooth 60 FPS. And hell, you know what? If it's like, hey, we have so much headroom left over, we could add in some ray tracing. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Raceface says PS5 doesn't outperform Series X. PS5 has horrible VRR implementation. On paper, in some games, you take more frames on PS5. In reality, the games are smoother on X. Gary Kleiss, you're saying, I was disappointed that City Skylines 2 was not on Unreal Engine 5. I actually didn't even know that. I guess it was on Unreal Engine 4 in that case, right? Yeah, I do think that some developers have been slow to adopt Unreal Engine 5. Like when you would listen to the way that Epic Games would talk about it, like I won't lie, I kind of bought into it as well. Like I thought like, man, every developer's immediately switching to Unreal Engine 5. Like we're going to see Unreal Engine 5 games like all over the place, constantly everywhere, and it really was not like that at all. Like even now, like I'm still not seeing nearly as many as I would have expected. UE5 is not ready. Yeah, it seems like maybe it wasn't fully ready. And they're continuing to make improvements to it and optimize it and whatnot. So I'm not like completely surprised at this point to see that there are still developers choosing Unreal Engine 4 and there are still like games coming out running on Unreal Engine 4. I almost start to think that Unreal Engine 5 isn't going to become like as ubiquitous as I expected it to be until maybe next generation, until the PlayStation 6. You know? Maybe it was a little too early. Death Stranding 2 is going to show how powerful Decima Engine really is next year. Yeah, I'm really curious to see that, man. I want to know how far the graphical fidelity can be pushed with Decima because, again, man, I know I keep kind of bringing it up. Maybe I sound like a broken record, but if you haven't, go check out some of those 4K screenshots, man, of Death Stranding 2. It looks incredible. Go check it right now. Oh. For some reason, my keyboard isn't working. I don't know why. Why does it do that? My keyboard isn't working right now, so I can't check. That's very annoying. Saying awesome show, MBG. Both systems are good. Yeah, I think the Series X is a good console. Ultimately, like as in it gets the job done. You know what I mean? I don't know. Again, my whole thing with the Series X is I feel like I feel like everything that could work against the Xbox console this generation has worked against it. I do. Like I really think like that's the curse of Xbox this generation as a console, not as a brand, but as a console. It's like even the one thing that it had going for it, which is, hey, we got those 12 T flops. Even that didn't do anything for it, And that's the like, I really wonder, in all seriousness, what would be happening right now, console sales wise, competition wise, if every multi platform release looked and ran significantly better on the Series X? What would the difference be right now? Would more people be choosing the Series X? Would Microsoft be more competitive? Would the sales gap be a little bit, you bought a Series X to replace your PC and sold it the next day? Damn. What? That's almost hard to believe. Ms. Biz, a member for 13 months, says, MBG, are you going to try ZZZ releasing this week? What's that stand for? It's zoneless and zero or something like that. Am I going to try it? It's releasing this week. Could be the next big free live service like Hoyo's other games. PS5 console exclusive too. I did see it advertised on the PlayStation Store. I don't know. I got to look into it. Zenless Zone Zero. Okay. Yeah, ZZZ. I'm afraid it's going to put me to sleep, bro. No, I don't know. I don't know anything about this game. I would have to check it and look into it. Do I think Sony will still do a showcase in September? If so, which game do you think has the best chance of being announced? Dude, at this point, I'm just scared that Sony's not going to do jack shit. I mean, look, not to be such a doomer, but in all seriousness, I think we, at the very minimum, like let's just talk bare minimum here, the absolute bare minimum. Let's just say Sony really is complacent. They don't give a shit. In their mind, they've already won. The bare minimum is they have to reveal the PS5 Pro. And they have to do something. Like, it has to be some kind of presentation. Like, I guess technically they wouldn't have to do a presentation for the Pro, but I mean, at that point, why even release it? They need to at least do a presentation telling people what this thing is and why they would want to buy it. But here's the thing about the whole showcase idea, right? Again, not trying to sound like a doomer. If you look at the way Sony revealed the PS4 Pro, they didn't reveal any new games for it. The PS4 Pro, it was a presentation where they were like, here's the new hardware, and here are some games running on it and what they look like. And these were games that were already announced. I'll be honest with you. It's like Sony's been so quiet when it comes to any type of big presentation or show that I think fans would still be excited for that. If Sony announces in September, like, join us for the official reveal of the future of PS5 or, like PS5 Pro or something like that. Right. And they make it clear, like, there will be no new game announcements. Yeah, that's going to be disappointing, but I'm still going to show up and be like, well, I'll take what I can get right now, bro. Like 2024 has been not the most exciting year when it comes to announcements and like shows and stuff. It's been decent, but it still feels like we're kind of waiting. So I would still show up. I would still tune in and I would still try to have some excitement, but I don't know, man. I just don't know what to expect anymore. I just don't want to sit here and be like, yeah, don't worry, that showcase is coming. Like, sure, MBG, sure. You've been saying that for like the past 2.5 years, bro. And even when it did come, it still didn't deliver. Gaming Survivor, Corey Landiga. What's up, guys? Oh, man. Man, both of you guys came in at the same time. Who cares about announcements when PlayStation is delivering great games? Yeah, Yeah, I think the struggle is I've talked about it many times, but I feel like Sony, like I don't want to make it sound like they're holding back. I don't think they're holding back. Like it depends on how you frame it, right? Like is Sony holding back? Like literally, yes they are. Because like could they make announcements? Yes they could. They're choosing not to. Why is that? Because they don't have to, dude. Like they don't have to make announcements. They don't have to do any of that right now. So they're choosing not to. And Corey comes in and just drops a 20 bomb on you guys. Corey's like, we need to get the beast in here. I'll let you know, man. He is the timing of that couldn't have been any better because boss is not in here currently. He's currently out there scratching at the door. I had no choice. And then Hellbound comes in and drops a 5. So Corey, dude, thank you so much for that 20 bomb, bro. And then Hellbound following it up with a 5 bomb, taking us to 26 members just like that. Really, really appreciate that. So we're going to bring Boss in here, and we're going to feed the beast. He's probably very upset, though. I had no choice, man. He's starting to get crazier and crazier. He started chewing my wires yesterday. He was trying to knock over my camera and my light. I'm like, bro, I tried explaining to him that if he does this, he's going to sabotage himself. But
Holy shit.
Good stuff, guys. So let me update this member goal, and we'll bring him in here. Really do appreciate that. Wasn't expecting that either. That just kind of came out of nowhere. So Corey, the legend, with a 20. I feel like Hellbound's always lying in wait. He's like, once Corey goes, then I go. We tag team it. Oh, wait. Why didn't that update? Hold on. What is this, like, glitched out? Sorry, guys. My keyboard is giving me some problems here. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. MBG, we're only 2 months away. Corey says, rules are rules, homie. All right, hold on. Let me go grab boss. Don't yell at me, bro. Don't yell at me. I know. As soon as I open that door, he starts yelling at me. He's like, yo, why didn't you let me in?
Boss, do you read me? It's time to feed the beast.
We got some new snacks here. I know you guys were like, yo, you got to get them the healthier snacks, but I don't know, man. They're fine, right? They're fine. Boss, these are Temptations Shake-Ups Crustacean Celebration. Lobster, crab, and shrimp flavor. Look at him. Look at him. How desperate are you right now, dude? He's literally trying to eat the packaging. Did Boss get fatter again? Actually, no. I did weigh him. Some days, and I learned this, some days he looks a little bit bigger. Like, no joke. Because he's, like, retaining water. I've noticed that with Leia, too. Like, they just look, like, puffier. I'm like, why do they look so puffy? Just because they're... I guess cats do that sometimes. I don't know. But no, if it would make you guys feel better, Boss is not... So, he's, like, a half a pound overweight. He's a half a pound overweight. So, I've been giving him a little bit less of his dry food and trying to reduce the amount of snacks. But he's not, like, unhealthy or anything. You're not helping my case here, bro. He's done. He's already done those snacks. Like, I don't know what to do with him. Like, could you try to savor it a little bit? Leia's here too. You're saying half a pound for a cat is a lot. Boss, we're gonna have to start. We're gonna have to start working you out, man. Don't start. Don't start. He didn't even taste them, dude. I know. He basically inhaled them. Feed the princess, dude. Listen. Here's the problem. If I try to give Leia any snacks, boss is just gonna like shove her away and eat them for himself. I tried. Like I try to give Leia some treats, and I have to do it like secretly, or else boss is gonna like bully her. But he ends up finding it out anyway. Leia's not like boss. Like when I try to give her treats, she doesn't respond the same way. Like she likes them, but she like likes them secretly. Like I can't watch her eat the treats. I gotta like walk away. And her hesitation is what leads to boss basically coming in and be like, oh, discipline him. I try, man, but there's a reason why his name is boss. I try. He retracted that message. He's like, no, don't. You took that the wrong way. But now that he's in here, I do have to keep an eye on him. Because I'll tell you, he's walking around in circles now, looking at me like, you know that wasn't enough for me. You know those weren't enough treats. It's gonna have to be enough, dude. Get a dog and watch the impending chaos. Marius, a member for 2 months, says, "Are the memberships region locked?" I mean, I think there are certain regions where like memberships aren't even a thing, if I'm not mistaken. Like I don't think every single country is supported. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm like relatively confident. But I think it's supported in most regions. What new IP am I more curious about, Naughty Dog or Santa Monica? Oh man, that's a tough. I mean, I feel like that's almost a tie because they're both working on new IPs. You need a PSN account for a membership. You're trying from your phone. Are you on an iPhone, Marius? If you're on an iPhone or an iOS device, sometimes it doesn't let you gift through the app. So if you really do want to drop membership gifts, what you need to do is open up your browser. I don't know if you use Safari or if you use Chrome, but open up your browser on your phone and log into YouTube there, and you'll be able to drop membership gifts that way. Plenty of people have run into this problem before, and that's basically the workaround. Or if you have a desktop nearby, that works too. But yeah, I still see people, they come in sometimes, they want a gift or they want to support in some way, and sometimes they're kind of limited and they don't know why. And YouTube doesn't really explain it to you, you know? And I think that's a weird thing. You would think if you're on an iPhone, if you tried to gift or something, or you click the money icon on the chat, they would like tell you like, hey, it's not supported on iOS or whatever. Oh, you know what? I just got notified by Mrs. MBG. Apparently, if you're trying to, so this is important because I didn't know this. If you're trying to gift through iOS, it doesn't work through Safari. You have to use Google Chrome. So I don't know if that's a deal breaker for some of you, but just another update there. So I didn't know that. I thought you could do it through Safari or Chrome, but yeah, just for future reference. And Digital Dude 25, a member for 9 months, he says, "I hope that Naughty Dog leak is fake. I can only imagine how people would react if it turns out to be true. The end of Naughty Dog is real shame. Yeah, I don't even want to entertain it. You know, because it does. It sounds so bad and stupid. It's like I hate to say it, but like it sounds kind of plausible. What leak? Well, basically there was this leak of a for like a casting call for a PlayStation game, a PlayStation Studios game, and the casting call was for a transgender individual, and the apparent, and this is just some random leak with no source, and it claims that the premise of the game is you're going to play as a female that is fighting against like it almost makes it sound like a tribe or something like that doesn't accept female leaders or something, and I'm like, that, please God, please, like literally insert the Office meme, like, please God, no. Like, Naughty Dog, just please go back, like, just make something normal. This sounds like bait. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, it's like there's no way. Like, that sounds too chaotic. You're going to pretend you didn't hear that? Yeah, that's what's freaking me out though. Like, right? It's one of those things where it's like, that's not real. Right? 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 Guys, that's not real, right? It's like nah, it's real. Oh man. Bring back Bruce Straley. Never gonna happen, man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to assume anything. You're saying Naughty Dog said that they have multiple single player games that they're working on, so even if it was one of them, who cares? They have others they're working on. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, dude. It's just, again, I want to remind people that there's no actual credible source for that leak or that rumor. So be very careful with it. You know, there's a lot of people that are rooting against Naughty Dog, you know, and there is a lot of rage bait out there these days. Hold on, I gotta lay out. Don't start with the chaos, man. Saying that's exactly what it is, rage bait from Naughty Dog haters. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to, like, if we got that rumor from like a really credible source or something, like Jason Schreier or whatever, I'd be like, oh, okay, I actually believe that. But there's been no, honestly, it's kind of weird in a way that there has been no word in any capacity of like what they're working on. There's been no rumors, there's been no leaks, like any legitimate rumors or leaks, or even remotely legitimate rumors or leaks. Like, nobody can say like what they're working on. So, I don't know, man. I just hope Naughty Dog does something that is not going to be divisive. I think that's honestly all I want. And I feel like that's asking a lot, truthfully, considering who we're talking about here. You know, like I feel like no matter what, it's going to be divisive. And we have Marius coming in, dropping a 5-bomb. I think he figured it out. Marius, I really appreciate that, dude.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
He was asking me a moment ago how he gifts. And he listened to what I had to say, and he made it happen. So, Marius, dude, shout out to you, bud. Thank you for the 5 membership gifts. You just brought us up to 31 on the day, which is great to see. So, thank you so much for that. And yeah, I really appreciate the support, guys. I know it's dry out here. I know. It's dry right now in terms of gaming news. Not a whole lot going on. You know, we're entering the dog days of summer. So the fact you guys are still out here, still showing support, means a lot. Really does. The future is looking spooky. Dude, the future in general is looking very spooky. The future is looking so spooky, I don't even want to think about the future. I'm just taking it one day at a time, man. Santa Monica's game. What do I want? I think I'm a little bit more excited for Santa Monica's new game just because it's like it can be anything. You know what I mean? Like it can I'm not saying Naughty Dog's game can't be anything, but I mean, dude, we only really know God of War from Santa Monica. So it's like, man, it could be like legitimately anything and surprise us. And Corey, the legend Landiga, comes in and drops another 10 bomb on you guys. Corey doing some heavy lifting for the community today. That's 30 gifts from Corey, bringing us up to 41 on the day. Corey, bro, thank you so much for that, man. He does it in the name of boss. That's crazy, though. We are now just 9 members away from hitting a second goal. Just like that. We went the majority of the stream with like no memberships or just 1 membership. So you guys really kicked it into high gear. Thank you so much for that. And we have Mithranyo saying there hasn't been much leaks since the new CEO came. The new CEOs came. It's been like dead silence on that front. I've noticed that. Yeah. There's been like no rumors, hardly any rumors, certainly like no leaks. I mean, we got like the biggest leak ever from Insomniac, but after that, it seems like it just kind of went quiet, which, again, that Insomniac leak was a bit like, whoa. MBG, why haven't you been doing sets anymore? Why did you change your setup? So I changed my setup for multiple reasons. But when it comes to doing reps, I can still do them. I have my weights here next to me. If we hit 50, I'll do some reps at the end of the stream. It's been a little while. I'm still working out off camera, of course. But the only reason I haven't been doing reps recently is because I honestly forgot to move my dumbbells back to the space. Obviously, I can't do anything like crazy, but summer cutting time. I don't know. I don't really bulk or cut. I try to just maintain a healthy weight, you know, not get too much body fat, but I'm not like hyper fixated on cutting too much either. And then we have a Digital Dude 25 with the $2 chat. Oh, jeez. Saying, wasn't Lev trans and in a tribe from The Last of Us Part 2? Oh, yeah. Yep. Well, there you go. It already happened. Actually, yeah, you're totally right. I don't know why I didn't put that together sooner. That's literally what that was. Like that description is literally what that game, like what that part of that game was. Oh, I forgot to update the goal here. Hold on. There we go. So, yeah, guys, we are 110 bomb away from hitting a second goal, which is awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, good call out there, Digital Dude. Good call out. Do I remember the name? Wait, the name of what? Sony has Sweet Baby Stink on speed dial. So just expect it going forward. I mean, I know people are. I'm just trying to take it like again, game by game, seeing what's on offer. And dude, Corey comes in and does it himself. God damn, he wants me to feed the beast again. Corey drops another 10 bomb on you guys, and he brings us over 50 members. He helps us hit 51 members, guys. That's 2 goals crushed. That is amazing. Thank you so much, Corey. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll give Boss a couple more snacks. And then Hellbound 1981 follows up with another 5 bomb. You guys got a full-blown member train going. I'm quite shocked, honestly. I am. I guess I shouldn't be. I've been streaming for so long. I know how this works. But you just never know. You never know when the member trains are going to go off. So, Corey, Hellbound, thank you guys so much, man. Boss, you ready? Dude, look at the way Boss is just like. I wish I could be as chill as Boss. Not all the time, but like more frequently. Now that's funny. You see him moving his head right now? He's looking a little bit more on alert. Because I guess Mrs. MBG out there in the other room, she's doing something with a bag that's crinkling. He thinks it's treats. He thinks it's more treats. Well, lucky for you, you're getting more treats because we're at 56 members now, guys. Let me update this goal. Yeah, we're gonna be doing a Demon Soul stream this week. I'm trying to figure out when the best time to do it would be. Like, I'm not sure if I should do it right after one of our regular streams or if I should save it for Friday. I want to try to do it when, like, you know, more people are available. A First Descendant stream. I want to do that too. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, like, familiarize myself with the game first. So I'm going to play it on my own. Okay. My keyboard is broken, dude. What is happening? All right. Can't really do anything right now. I'll have to update the goal in a minute or two. I don't know what's going on. It's like glitching out. I don't know if it's the software or my keyboard. But we are sitting at 56 members. We'll give you a couple more, boss. We'll give you a couple more treats. Not too many. Not too many. I'm going to count them out. All right. All right, I'm going to give you 6 more treats. It's a good portion. Ready? There you go. Yeah, you just inhale those, bro. Try that Ultimate Bunny outfit in the game. Yeah, I was seeing some of the outfits. Intergalactic. Oh, yeah, okay. That's true. Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. I wonder if that's what the actual name of the game is going to be. And just for the hell of it, I'll give Boss some of his cat crack as well. Here we go, man. I love how he's looking at it like those aren't snacks. Like, yeah, they're not snacks, but it's catnip. There you go. What do I think about the Alana Pierce commentary? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, she was talking about. I guess there was a conversation happening with Elden Ring. You know, every time From Software releases a new product, there's always discourse around difficulty and accessibility. Um, that's fun, dude. Capono, seeing it written out like that is so funny. It's true, bro. No, in all seriousness, there's discourse right now occurring because of the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, and every time there's discourse around difficulty and the fact that From Software is always kind of like pushing the boundary of difficulty, and there's always the conversation of accessibility and whatnot, and should the game be this difficult? Should it be easier? Blah blah blah. I feel like the conversations are always kind of the same. But yeah, a lot of peers said something that seems to have upset a lot of people, and I really don't know why people are like. I think people are just bored, and I think they're just looking for things to get upset about, if I'm being honest. But we have Paul Ganell coming in, dropping another membership gift. He's dropping a single, which brings us to 57 members. Let me see if I can update the goal now for you guys, if it'll allow me. All right, it looks like it's working now. So, Paul, thank you so much for that, bud. Appreciate you dropping that single. But there's this clip floating around of Alana Pierce where I guess she was chiming in on the discourse, and she was listing like things that would be considered like disabilities and why some people wouldn't be able to play certain games, or well, I don't know. Maybe just play the clip because I don't want to. Well, I don't know. It's like a 5-minute clip, but at some point she used the term. What was the term she used? Circumstantial. No, not circumstantial. There was a specific term she used. You're saying she was talking about industry terminology, and in game development, the terminology situational disability. There you go. Thank you. Is an umbrella term, and having a kid is considered a situational disability because it pulls the gamer away from the TV. Dude, that's why I'm saying, like, listen, this is where I wish people would realize who the true grifters are here. And it makes me sad that not enough people, either they don't realize it, or B, they don't care. Like, this is like, there are things in life worth getting worked up about and getting like upset over. This is not one of them. Like, I don't understand how people can go from 0 to 100 over something so nonsensical, where it's like, listen, if you hear the term situational disability in regards to being a parent that can't play a game for whatever reason, yes, that is like, that seems like a strange term to use. But when you realize the context of why it's being used, oh, okay, yeah, it's a bit like, to me, the terminology is a bit intense. Like, I don't know that I would say, like, let me put it to you this way: if I was playing Elden Ring and I can't pause the game, and my son's in the other room, like something's going on, and I just got to walk away from the game, and I got to go attend to my child, I'm not going to say, guys, I couldn't finish Elden Ring because I'm disabled. I wouldn't say that. That would sound insane to me. If I walked into a video game development studio and they have a chart in front of me and they're like, look, here are all the things we need to consider when we're making our game, why we should or shouldn't incorporate a pause button. And then on that chart, there's like one section that says situational disability, parenting or something. It's like, okay, I'm not going to call a parent disabled. That sounds insane. But if you are going based off of the literal definition, okay, well, let's look it up. The definition of situational. Situational, adjective, of relating to or occurring in a particular set of circumstances. Okay. Disabled definition. Definition of disabled. Impaired or limited by a physical, mental, cognitive, or developmental condition. Incapacitated by illness, injury, or wounds. Oh, wait, hold on. Well, there's a lot of different definitions here. Okay. So, an impaired or limited by physical, mental, cognitive, or developmental condition affected by disability, decades of government, blah, blah, blah. Incapacitated by illness or injury. Device or mechanism rendered inoperative. Okay. So it's like, all right, listen, if I'm looking at the literal definition of these things, okay, yeah, I like it actually applies. It does. Like, you are physically unable to engage with a video game because you have to parent your child. I do agree, however, if we're not going based off of literal definitions, I do agree that using the term disabled, like, I just don't think people think of it that way. You know what I mean? I like, when people think of disabled, they think of people who are, at least I would assume most of the time, people who are like actually have like a physical impairment, like something wrong with them that prevents them from being able to engage with the game. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, man. I listened to that clip, and I think people are just losing their minds over nothing, dude. Like, it was very obvious if you listen to the way she was talking about it, that she was talking about it in the context of when they're in a development environment and they're trying to consider all the reasons why people would be not able to play a game or pulled away from a game. Situational unavailability. There you go. Yeah, that would be a good term to use. I would say that sounds better. Situational unavailability, because it sounds more accurate. You know what I mean? Like, at least in my mind. Like, I'm situationally unavailable. I'm situationally unavailable for Elden Ring because I can't pause the game. Why are you situational? From parenting responsibility, being busy, to situational disability. Hole up. Situational selfishness. It's pretty funny though, dude. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty funny that, like, you think about, when you do think about all the different reasons that somebody would have to like not be able to play a game, that is one of those reasons that I think it exists. Like, I've noticed in the past, whenever I have to play a game where I can't pause it, I do have to consider that. You know, like, I do have to consider, like, I can't just pause this game and walk away. But then again, if you ever played like a multiplayer game, it's the same thing. You know what I mean? And I've always been appreciative of games where it's like you could pause at any moment. That definitely helps. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, man. I guess what I'm thinking in my mind is, if I was a game developer, I don't think I would really care. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't care if it's like, all right, listen, I have a game I'm making and this is how I want it to work. This is how I want people to engage with it. And it's like, well, what about people who are parents and they can't pause the game? I'll just say, well, then they're just gonna have to either A, not play it, or B, play it when they're able to. You know, like when they're not situationally disabled. You know what I mean? Like, but I just think it's insane that people are like, I don't know, man. I just think people are kind of overreacting a bit, as they tend to do with a lot of things. But it is what it is, you know? Listen, it's a slow time right now, man. I think people are going to look for anything they can to get worked up about. And it's just, I don't know, man. That's an interesting one. What if you have to take a dump? We need to add that to the chart, guys. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That you got me with that one. Mrs. MBG got me with that one. What if you got to take a dump? Does that make you situationally disabled in that moment? It does. It technically does. Think about it. Like, listen, you should add a pause button, because what if I got to take a dump? What if I'm in the middle of a boss battle, I got that boss's health bar halfway down, and suddenly it's like, I can't, I got to go. I can't hold it. This is the stuff developers need to be thinking about. Oh, there we go. Hellbound's like, no, bro, this is why we got the portal. Best answer. Best answer, dude. Sony's got us covered. Sony thought about this. That is awesome, actually. A bedpan. Sleep, work, those are also situational disabilities. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, what else could we add here? What else could we add onto this list? What if I get hungry? Nah, look, I get it, man. I can kind of see both sides of it the more I think about it, where it's like, on one hand, it is kind of silly. It is. I would feel a little weird, I guess, if I was like working on a game and they're like, yeah, but what about that parent that's got to stop to go parent? It's like, what about it? Like, well, you got to consider them too. It's like, well, okay, but I mean, like, I guess it's just because it's like when I think about, like, when I personally think about accessibility for what would be considered, somebody being disabled, I have to say that, like, and I'm not kidding when I say this, like, for me personally, I do not think of a parent. Like, that's just not a thought that occurs to me. But somebody did think of that. Like, I almost wonder if it had to be, dude, it had to have been a game developer who was a parent who plays games and was like, listen, I need pause. Like, we need to put the pause functionality in this game because I can't play it. Well, I just admit she has a bad take. Well, I don't know. I mean, was it really a take? I guess it was. I don't know, man. It is a little bit silly, but these days when it comes to the games industry and, listen, I'm hearing that Insomniac had to do like mandatory like meetings, like diversity meetings or some shit, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is necessary for the development of Spider-Man. And it's like, it's one of those things where it makes me raise my eyebrow, where it's like, okay, what's going on here? What are we doing here? That's every company now? Yeah, you're probably right about that. You're probably right about that, though. And I don't know, like, I'm just trying not to be one of those people that's just constantly screeching about shit. You know what I mean? Like when I saw people like freaking out about this, and I'm like, oh, she must have said something like truly, I mean, like fucking brain dead. And I listened to the clip, and I'm like, okay, it's a little weird, yeah, it's a little silly. But then I'm seeing like, it's like the arguments that are occurring over this. It's like, Jesus, guys, like, come on. Like, what are we, like, why does everything have to turn into this all the time, man? Like, I just feel, I look at it like this. Here's how I look at it. if I was developing a game, let's say I was making Elden Ring. Okay, I'm Miyazaki for a day. I'm making Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, and clearly I'm like, I want to make this shit hard as hell. I want to make it challenging, and I want to make it rewarding. You know, that's I'm Miyazaki for a day. Like somebody comes in and they're like, yeah, you know, I've been struggling playing this game, like with some boss battles. I'm like, why? Well, because you know, some of these boss battles, they can last a little while, and I keep having to leave my screen because my kids are always, I don't know, getting into something, or you know, they need my attention for, you know, at that moment, and I just can't, like, I can't pause the game, and I can't get through these boss battles. I would be like I would legitimately, like, if somebody personally told me that, like, as I was developing a game, I would think about that. I'd be like, oh, you know what? That's not something I really considered. But then if they came up to me and they were like, so, like, if they were like, yeah, I'm disabled, I'm situationally disabled, I'd be like, what? Hold on, you're what? You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's one of those things where what it's describing is not weird and not even untrue. Like, yeah, like for some people, legitimately not having a pause button can be a hindrance, because I've had many of those moments. I've had those moments plenty of times where, like, if I'm in, especially with multiplayer games, like the amount of times I was playing like rounds of Dead by Daylight as a killer or a survivor, and I'm just like, oh, I got to get up to do something, and so I'm just AFK, bro, you know, and whatever happens, happens. It does sound a little bit like a parody. So I'm saying, like, that's a real thing that I think everybody can kind of relate to, where we've all sat down and played games where we got to be AFK and we can't pause, and that's it. But I don't know, trying to like turn that into some kind of like very serious, like, we need to think about those players. Like, that to me is where it gets weird. It's like, it's not that serious. You know what I mean? And that's why I think the reaction from people is also what's ironic, because it's like the reaction is so intense that you would think it was this serious. Did you use the word hitbox? That's offensive. A box where people hit people. You're condoning domestic violence. Well, see, there you go. You can't take everything literally either. I'm just saying, like, it all just feels like a giant nothing burger to me. And I don't know. I think people, like I said, man, I think a lot of people are just very bored. You know, if I can't listen, if I don't watch a lot of Pierce or like follow her or anything, but if I did, and like I just was listening, I don't know if it was like a stream or a video she made or whatever, and I just heard her say this, the most I'd probably think to myself is, that's a little weird. And then I would just continue about my business, and it wouldn't, you know, like something like this would not live rent free in my head like that, because it's like, who cares? It, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's like way more serious stuff. Look up the term Dunning-Kruger effect. I feel like I've heard that before. Dude, I don't know what's going on with my keyboard. It's like not working today. Dunning-Kruger effect definition. Dunning-Kruger effect in psychology, a cognitive bias whereby people with limited knowledge or competence in a given intellectual or social domain greatly overestimate their own knowledge or competence in the domain relative to objective criteria or to the performance of their peers or of people in general. According to the researchers for whom it's named, psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger, the effect is explained by the fact that the metacognitive ability to recognize deficiencies in one's own knowledge or competence requires that one possesses at least a minimum level of the same kind of knowledge or competence, which those who exhibit the effect have not attained. Because they are unaware of their deficiencies, such people generally assume that they are not deficient, in keeping with the tendency of most people to choose what they think is the most reasonable and optimal option. Although not scientifically explored until the late 20th century, the phenomenon is familiar from ordinary life. and it has long been attested in common sayings. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing, and in observations by writers and wits through the ages, ignorance more frequently begets confidence than does knowledge. Interesting. Yeah, I see where you're coming from, man. It's basically, I guess it could just be described as lack of awareness, lack of awareness of like, does a stupid person know they're stupid? Can they know they're stupid? If a stupid person knows they're stupid, wouldn't that automatically make them smarter? It's the conundrum, man. And what does that say? Like, I'm over here thinking deeply about this. It reminds me of that saying, like, be careful when choosing to argue with a fool. Onlookers may not be able to tell the difference. That one has always stuck with me. That one, I think that saying has stuck with me more than anything, where it's like, holy shit, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. You're saying I like Alana, but not even mad, but what she said is kind of stupid. It's okay to acknowledge that. Well, listen, my whole thing with stuff like this is I do try to think about where people are coming from with stuff like this. And this is why I struggle to integrate with the culture war, so to speak, that is ever present. Because what I'm focused on is trying to understand where, like, I'm always trying to like meet somebody halfway and trying to understand like where they're like, even if I think something they said is like, wow, that's pretty, like, that sounds dumb to me, or that doesn't make sense to me, or that is like frankly ridiculous. I try to figure out like what would lead you to what is the thought process behind this. And sometimes it's exactly what I suspected, which is, oh, there's really nothing behind it, or there's very little behind it. And yeah, there's a reason why I feel this way based off of what you're saying. But I don't know. It's hard to do that these days, because it feels like everybody just has their very firm, convicted beliefs on things, and they just constantly perpetuate that with everything. Everything's just like a split second, like, is that right or is it wrong? Which category is it going? And boom, and then I run with that. And it's just like, all right, yeah, for some things, sure. For things that are pretty intense, sure, we need to have that ability to be able to just immediately determine, like, this is right, that is wrong. And that's fine. But with dumb stuff like this, it's like, this is one of those things where it's like, is it right or is it wrong? Is it just silly? Is it ridiculous? If it is ridiculous, does that make it bad? You know what I'm saying? Like, it really does start to engage you, as dumb as it sounds, on a deeper level, because you're just trying to really figure out, like, what do I classify this as? And, for some people, it's as simple as, oh, it's just a dumb bad take. For other people, it's like, holy shit, you have no, like, you're so uneducated. You don't know any of this stuff, like, you're just not in the know. And then, I feel like there's a lot of people that are maybe in between. Like, I was mostly in between, where I'm like, okay, like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like I have a bunch of people around me, like, telling me how they feel about it. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't really feel much about it. Like, I don't even know that I even care, to be honest, Like, this feels like, yeah, like Terrence Howard. I mean, honestly, this feels like a game dev problem. That's what it sounds like to me. Like, this feels like, if I was a game developer, I would have to ask myself whether or not I think this is a necessary consideration. And that's it. Like, for me, that's kind of where it ends. It's like, well, it turns out I'm not a game developer, so this doesn't have to really affect me. And listen, if I encounter a game where I can't play it properly because I can't pause the game, I don't think I've ever, I don't know, I'm just being honest. Like, I don't think there was ever a time where I thought to myself, well, fuck these game devs. I got to go do this, or I got to go do that, or I got to go parent, right? So I can't pause my game. What's wrong with them? They're not being considerate of me. I feel like that's a little bit of like, honestly, if to me, that almost veers towards entitlement where it's like, listen, you know what you can do in Elden Ring? And this is just the truth. You can just stand there at a freaking grace site. You can do that. Do you know how many times playing Elden Ring I had to get up and go do something? And I'm like, all right, and not even at a grace site. Dude, I'm just like, before I get up to go, I'm like looking around, like, are there any enemies? No? Okay, I'm just going to put the controller down. I'll be back in 5 minutes. And like, that's the thing is like almost all games without a pause button, in my experience, you may not be able to pause it, but you can just kind of be AFK and nothing, there will be no consequence. So again, this to me is just one of those things where this was maybe some insight into game dev where I totally understand why a game developer would like ruminate over that, like, and think like, oh man, like, is it a big deal that I don't have a pause button? I mean, yeah, I'm sure that's a thing you have to think about. Like, do we let players pause the game? Why or why not? You do have to think about that. So I could totally understand why they would have to go through all the different categories and all the different boxes as to why they would consider not having a pause button or why they should consider having it. But it's just weird to me, I guess, to see like, you know, people who are not involved in game dev, myself included, you know, just kind of like jumping in on this where it's like, I'm just saying, man, if you had told me yesterday or the day before that, guess what? A big hot, you know, fucking debate that's going to occur on the internet in the coming days is something called situational disability. And, you know, I'd be like, what? Like, why? It's like, oh, it has to do with whether or not you can pause a game or not. I'd be like, you know, I'd be like, what the I don't know. Whatever, man. Shem's just like, man, who cares? Who has time for this bullshit? I guess I do. I'm about to put up a poll. Oh, you know what? Great question, King Sam. I actually have that listed as a topic. I didn't get to talk about it yet. No, I'm definitely thinking way too hard about it. I don't know why I'm thinking this hard about it. It's just something to kind of riff off of, you know? That happens sometimes. It reminds you of the days when people couldn't understand the concept of multiplayer game or MMO with not having a pause. Do you know what it really reminds me of? It always reminds me of like, yeah, growing up like playing multiplayer games or like your parents or something would be like, can you pause your game? Can you pause your game? It's like no, like I actually can't pause it. Like let me finish my round or whatever. All right. God, man, I don't even remember what I was talking about prior to this though. Um. Oh, you know what? Yeah, this is something I meant to talk about with you guys. I apologize for taking so long to get to it. This is weird because I feel like I've been streaming for like 3.5 hours, and I'm seeing now that we're like about 2 hours and 18 minutes. I have a protein shake today. I decided to change it up a bit. I'm trying to increase my protein intake. So I got milk. I got about like 10 ounces of milk here with chocolate whey protein. Yeah, we still have to talk about Resident Evil Dead Rising remaster and also PlayStation Stars. Adama the Dragoon I see what you're doing there. Damn. 300 grams of protein. Oh my god. I'm not. No, hell no, dude. I'm not going that crazy. I'm trying to get at least like 120 to 150 a day, and it's hard, dude. Let me tell you, if you're trying to actually hit high, like a high number of grams, like for protein, like if you're trying to hit your body weight, it can be a challenge. It can, you know. So this is my second protein shake of the day. I had chicken for lunch. I had a grilled steak yesterday. That was good. 300 grams sounds not good, man. Like, I would be worried about your kidneys. Yeah. At that point, that's a lot. All right, let's talk about PlayStation Stars. At long last, PlayStation Stars is back online after breaking the 2011 PlayStation Network outage record. However, the loyalty program is being brought back in phases, with Sony staggering the rollout by region. At the time of this writing, PlayStation Stars is accessible in Asian regions only and will go live in Europe and North America soon. PlayStation Stars' return was first reported by users across Asia who noticed a message on the PlayStation app informing them of the regional rollout. We checked the PS app on our end and can also confirm the message. PlayStation Stars will be returning soon in phased regional rollouts, the statement reads. Thank you for your patience as we look forward to welcoming you back. What a weird situation. This was like probably one of the weirdest situations I've seen with PlayStation in a while, where like this whole program they have just stopped working, stopped functioning for literal weeks, and no one has said anything. And then like they just come out and are like, yeah, we're rolling it out again. Sorry. Very strange, man. I wonder what caused it to be down this long. Sony and their engineers, bro. Somebody completely destroyed the server, didn't they? Somebody didn't just step on a wire. Like the whole thing came crashing down. It kind of makes me glad that I never got involved with the PlayStation Stars program. You think they may have gotten hacked again? That would be weird. Like, that would be the weirdest reason. Oh, yeah, they got hacked, but it only affected PlayStation Stars. You know what I think? I think it's just, yeah, that's a good theory. Maybe PlayStation Stars was connected to the Sony Rewards program. They did announce that they were, like, shutting that down, the Rewards program. Maybe you're right. Maybe there was some kind of connection there. And they had to kind of, like, untangle a knot or something in a way. But I just wanted to relay this to you guys because I know that there are some people who do use the PlayStation Stars program, and so if you are somebody who's been using it and like wondering what's going on with it, it's coming back. It's going to be rolling out region by region. So there you go. Yeah, you know, I do forget about that sometimes, that with the PlayStation Stars program, you can like actually buy games using your points and stuff. So I could see why if you had like a lot of points saved up and you were saving it to use on a game or something, I could see why they would be pretty frustrating. You got a few gift cards from Stars. Damn. Maybe I should consider it. All right. We have an angry whale watcher with a super chat saying, I was sleeping on ZZZ when I saw the trailer for the Ice DPS made with a thick shark tail. I wake. MBG. Do you gotcha game? Zenless is here this week. I don't know that I've ever played a gotcha game. I don't think what even does that, like what does that even mean? What is a gotcha game? Like I've heard this. I've heard the term gotcha game like many times, but like, what does it actually mean? A gacha is a gotcha or gacha? Like I don't even know what it means. A loot box game? Collect them all? Oh, it's like a collectathon game or game that just like basically that's how it is that why it's called that? Like we got you? Like you're gonna want to stay here and collect everything? Or is am I misunderstanding it? Yeah, you're the second person, Angry Well Watcher, to mention ZZZ or whatever. I keep Zenless Zone Zero has 33 million players in the alpha already. These games literally bring in more money than the entirety of Sony. Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah, that's nuts, man. There's clearly something there I'm not familiar with. It doesn't surprise me that I don't understand what these games are. But I could see how they maybe get addicting. I don't know. You're the second person to bring this up. I'll have to look into it. I don't know if it's going to be my type of game. I'm looking it up now. Oh wow. Okay. Ooh, yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, man. This is one of those games where it's like it's so wildly popular, but I I don't see myself playing it. What is the gameplay like? Is it like action oriented? We have a Kane Z7 with a super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. He says Sony should give points retroactively for game purchases. Like, for example, if I pre-order a game like Stellar Blade and then after the game is released, they create a promotion giving 200 extra points for the purchase. Okay. That could work. I'm surprised they don't do something like that already. I would have thought that they did do that. And Novinzer says egg whites in your protein shake equals higher protein. Oh, yeah, that's a lot though, man. I don't know. I mean, well, I'm drinking my protein shake with milk, so that's more protein. My protein shake, I mean, it's like one scoop, 24 grams of whey protein, plus like 10 ounces of milk. That's probably like what, 10 extra grams of protein, give or take. So it's like 38 grams. That's pretty good. It's almost 40 grams. Appreciate that though, Novinzer. Novinzer's looking out for my protein intake. Did I see Arnold shake? He puts eggshells into it. I think I do remember seeing that. Yeah, I don't know about that, man. I'm not that badass. All right. Yeah, Jay Shako, you're saying you get points for every purchase. I could have swore that's how it worked. Or maybe you're saying like you get extra. If I'm reading what you're saying correctly, Kane, maybe what you're saying is like you get extra points for actually pre-ordering it, not just buying it, but because you also pre-ordered it, like you get even more points, like 200 bonus points or something. I think that's kind of how I'm reading what you're saying. And we have Josh Z with a $10 super chat. Thank you for that, Josh. You're saying basically it means that companies use randomized slot machine microtransaction incentives to keep players returning to the game. They usually have specific events every year. Okay. Yeah, that explains it then. Like the addictive nature. Like why so many people are like hooked on those games. Like we got you. I don't know if I've ever gotten addicted to games like that. I mean, I remember playing like some Call of Duty games when they were doing the whole loot box thing, and I kind of hated it. Saying it's basically like gambling. That's a doesn't that seem a little bit shady though? Like I'm not trying to judge these games or anything, but the way you guys are describing it, doesn't that sound a little bit shady? Like you trying to create gambling addicts or something, or what here? It can never be enough. It can never be enough. I'm trying to think of the game if there's ever a game like I got like truly super addicted to. It's 2024, bro. Very true. Very true. It's 2024. Anything goes, man. Anything goes. Exploiting the human mind for sure. Are our minds being exploited right now in this very moment? Is YouTube exploiting my mind with the different colors? Is my chat basically just one giant slot machine? Uh-oh. And they're exploiting boss as well. This is their fault. I don't know, man. It reminds me of McDonald's, you know? It reminds me of when like McDonald's would get sued by like like a really obese person with health problems like tried to sue McDonald's, and like you blame McDonald's for it. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough thing. You gotta have your own will, right? Your own mind. But there's also the whole conversation of ethics. Oh no. Oh no, I'm a gotcha. I'm like a gotcha game. No. They got me. Hey man, everything in moderation, right? Everything in moderation. But Josh, I appreciate the super chat, man, and you letting me, kind of describing what these games are. It is crazy to me that some of these games are so big though, and they make so much money. Like I'm surprised that Sony doesn't lean more heavily into some of this stuff. I'm kind of glad they don't though. Although I was informed that apparently this game is apparently it's a PlayStation exclusive. So I guess Sony's doing something. Or is it one of those exclusives because it's just not releasing on Xbox? Like Sony didn't actually do anything with it. It's just not releasing on Xbox. Situational moderation. There you go. Why does that work though? Like now that term works. You have to moderate every situation. And then Kane Z7 with another super chat here says, you do get points for every purchase, but if there's a promotion, Games of June, buy any of these games and earn an extra 200 points. If you pre-order the game, you don't earn the extra points. Okay. Yeah, I think that, okay. I think I understand what you're saying now, Kane Z7. I do wonder what the future of the Stars program looks like. I feel like Sony made a kind of big deal out of it when they first launched it, and there was like a decent amount of chatter around it. But I feel like since then, it just, I don't know. I, I remember there was this conversation around the possibility of NFTs, right? And I almost wonder if that's why PlayStation Stars was created in the first place. And maybe by the time it was like finished and ready to go, they kind of saw that NFTs are dead and not a thing anymore. And they're like, oh, so they were like, well, we could just release it as it is, and kind of. Shems, you're saying you use it and you think it's great. Yeah, I think they'll stick with it. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think they just got to be careful. Like, you would think there would be better communication from Sony for the fans. Like, we talk about Sony and their communication. It's like, oh yeah, this rewards program that probably at least a couple million people. Maybe that's too many. I don't know. I don't know how many people are signed up for PlayStation Stars, but a good chunk of people, right? Like the most dedicated that care about this stuff. You would think Sony would at least be like, we're having some technical difficulties. We'll get back to you. And as far as I'm aware, they didn't say anything the whole time. So weird. All right. So, guys, Resident Evil 9. Are you guys excited for Resident Evil 9? Is Resident Evil 9 even real? Well, we can at least confirm that Resident Evil 9 is real. Over on WCCF Tech, during the Capcom Next showcase, after the reveal of Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster's pricing and key features, which we will talk about in a little bit, the studio also dropped a little bomb about Resident Evil 9. Yes, the next mainline installment in the revered survival horror franchise is officially in development. The announcement was tied to the showcase of Resident Evil 7, which is out now on Apple's iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max and every iPad and Mac with an M1 chip or later. The main game is bundled with the Not a Hero Story DLC, starring franchise veteran Chris Redfield, while the optional Gold Edition upgrade allows fans to get all of the content from the other DLCs, including additional story content and game modes. The package also supports universal purchase and cross progression, so Apple gamers can play across iPhone, iPad, and Mac. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so I think that's going to flop, honestly, on iPad. But it says, or on Apple devices, it says the reason the announcement of Resident Evil 9 was tied to this Resident Evil 7 showcase is fairly straightforward. The new chapter in Capcom's IP is being led by Koshi Nakanishi. I think that's how you say his name, who directed the first game in the series to switch from third person to first person view. And he says, we're making a new Resident Evil. It was really difficult to figure out what to do after 7, but I found it. And to be honest, it feels substantial. I can't share any details just yet, but I hope you're excited for the day that I can. So, kind of a weird situation here. Capcom just like, yup, we're making it. We're making Resident Evil 9. Please be excited. It's like, okay, I'm excited. Can I see it? Quick question. Before I read Isaac Adrian's super chat. Quick question. Resident Evil 9, first person or third person? Which is it going to be? Isaac Adrian with the $10 chat. Thank you, buddy. Saying this industry went to shit when it went mainstream. And have you also seen the whole thing with the George Floyd stuff with Street Fighter 6? And also take off the hat. I was waiting for it, Isaac Adrian. No, I have no idea. That, like, George Floyd stuff with Street Fighter 6. Can somebody explain this to me? Like, I'm kind of nervous to ask. Is that a George Floyd reference in Street Fighter 6? What the fuck is going, like, I'm going to need somebody to explain what the hell's going on here. Isaac Adrian just coming in with the straight chaos right now. No explanation. Leaves. Did you hear about that George Floyd Street Fighter 6 situation? It's just a meme. Is it the move that the guy's doing? Because I just saw a picture, and like, oh man, sheesh. No comment on that one, man. I don't know. It's just Bison's move clipped. Yeah, I don't know. I don't play Street Fighter 6. Isaac Adrian is saying LMAO, yep, people started freaking. Oh, is that what you're getting at? That people started like freaking out about it? Dude, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. It's like what like I just feel like people just look for stuff, man. Like, I get it. We like it's maybe human nature, like we're always looking for problems in a way so we can fix those problems. I get it, but like Jesus, it's like it's getting kind of nuts. Cuz if you like dude, if I'd seen that picture just like randomly on my feed with no context, that's definitely not what I would have thought. Like that's not the first thing that would have popped in my mind. Do not engage. Well, here's what I'll say. If you are a fan of Street Fighter, then play the game and have fun. There you go. There you go. What about that? What about that? What about playing a video game and having some fun? Why'd you put that in your fucking pipe and smoke it? Not you, Isaac Adrian. Just to anybody. It's just a joke post. Oh, that's the other end of it though. Okay. It's the other end of the spectrum where it's just pure chaos, right? It's pure chaos. Where like, do I post this? Is it too soon? It's like you probably just shouldn't post it at all. You know? But you're here for the chaos, so you're gonna post it. You're gonna fucking post it. And you know the chaos. Dude, it's like I posted on Twitter this morning, not exactly the same, certainly not, but I just posted a simple question. Which console do you think is better, the PS5 or the Xbox Series X? Dude, it already has over 506 replies, and it's not all chaos. Like, a lot of it's actually pretty decent, but there's some chaos in there, man. And I knew, just asking that simple question, it's just a simple, which one do you think is better? It's practically a yes or no question. The amount of chaos that's going to ensue. You know? Some of the replies are interesting, though. But yeah, Resident Evil 9, guys. Resident Evil 9. And Isaac, thank you for the super chats, buddy. I'm going to keep the hat on for now. So, I'm growing my hair out right now. In case you can't tell. It's growing really slow. But I'm like, it's been years since I've grown my hair out, and I don't know what it looks like. Like, I'm balding and shit, so I'm just going, like, you want to talk about chaos? I'm just going to grow my hair out until I can't stand it anymore. Like, I just want to know how bad it's really going to look. But, you know, I just want to do it for fun and just see, like, what can it look like? And it'll be so funny. Dude, if I spend, like, the next 2 or 3 years growing my hair out, it's going to be so funny where it's like, guys, I'm finally going to take my hat off, and I just have this insane fucking hair. Like, just this absolute insane, like, oh my God, dude. Spend years wearing a hat when I'm like clean shaven bald, you know? And then I finally take it off, and it's just this fucking chaotic mess. Expecting a massive afro. I have no idea. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. There was this one picture from like 6 or 7 years ago, and it was like the last time I remember growing my hair out at all, and it was pretty crazy looking, dude. Like it was kind of like an afro. Like it was just chaotic. But it made me wonder, like when I saw that picture, I was like, would that look okay if I actually like tried to style it? Because I just let it. I had like that you know, kind of like Einstein look going on a little bit, where it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna just let it do what it wants to do. Yeah, George Costanza. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I might just get really upset at how it starts growing in. I'm like, all right, I'm shaving it again. But there you go, Isaac Adrian. I could at least tell you that I'm not taking my hat off, but we'll grow the hair and see where it goes. See how bad it can really look. You haven't cut your hair in 14 years? Damn, dude. How long is your hair? Dude, at the rate my hair grows, I feel like it would take me 14 years to like even just grow it to a decent length. Some guys do pull off the receding hairline with styling, but seems like effort. Yeah, that's my whole thing. You know what it is, though? Do you know what it is really? Like, I'm getting tired of shaving my head. Because shaving my head is effort, you know? And I'm like, I could just do nothing and let it grow. But once it starts to grow in and it looks really bad, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to do something. So I'm at a point in my life where no matter what, I have to put some kind of effort. Your hair does reach your ass. Well, there you go. Does your hair look like a lollipop that fell on the floor and has lint on it? Dude, that one's got... I'm getting like tears in my eyes right now. That shit's so funny. That shit is so funny. I don't know. Like, it could be... At this point, it could be that bad. I don't know if it's that bad yet. I don't know. That's pretty bad. Your cousin went to Turkey. They have the best hair transplants for $5,000, all expenses paid, better than American procedure and cheaper. I do not care that much, man, at all. Like, I really don't care. Dude, IP gaming, don't you fucking dare. Don't you dare. Okay. I started talking about my hair for just 2 minutes, and you guys are just like full blown, like, let's go. Is that not the most insane thing, though? Guys, I don't understand. Like, I need somebody to explain to me. I knew this was going to come up at some point. I need somebody to explain to me, what does the Hawk Tuah truly represent? Like, I know, like, you know, it clearly represents something bigger. You know what I mean? It's taken on some kind of deeper meaning. America. It's because young people suck at memeing. They need something. Dude, it's actually insane. Like, that woman is like famous now, like legitimately famous, and it's probably like becoming rich. Isn't that just insane? Like, that's absolutely wild. Are we going to see the Hawk Tuah meme make its way into Resident Evil 9? If Capcom's smart, it will, right? I don't know. I'm trying to like make sure I keep bringing up Resident Evil 9 because that's supposed to be the topic right now. Still don't know who or what that is. I didn't either for a little bit, and then like it just started randomly popping up, and I'm like, is that a Hawk Tuah reference in my Street Fighter? 15 minutes of fame. Yeah, I don't know, man. You got to be very careful these days. If you're walking the streets, somebody comes up to you with a microphone asking you questions. Do you remember? You know what it reminds me of? It's like it's a lot different, but the similarity is just like interviewing random people on the street. Do you guys remember for a little while there was that meme of like the Chad dude that would he refused to answer the question, he refused to pick one. Like, the guy was asking him like a tough question, and it's like, you got to pick one. He's like, no, I don't. He's like, yeah, you do. You need to. He's like, no, I won't. You can't make me. And he became like a meme. That one was pretty funny. I actually appreciated that one quite a bit because I'm like, we need that. Like, yeah, you don't have to deal with this shit. Like, you don't have to answer random people asking you questions or decide shit on the street. You don't have to engage with that. Isaac Adrian says it means America and sucking. Yes. So I'm not going to say the second part just in case. I don't know how good YouTube is at recognizing words. It seems to be their algorithm seems to be pretty good at recognizing words, but yes. I think we all understood that part, Adrian. But that's so funny, dude. Like just those two things. Those are the two things it represents. Somehow, man. You would think it only represents one of those things. It represents both simultaneously. Use sign language. Damn, dude. I should just rename the stream. What does Hawk Tua mean? Dude, no joke. I'd get more viewership. No joke. If I rename my stream that right now, I'd get more viewership out of just sheer curiosity. Nah, I can't do that though. Pepe is an actual name. Okay, that's true. What does Hawk Tua mean to Resident Evil 9? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Two things that are happening in 2024, man. Hawk Tua and Resident Evil 9 confirmed. Let's try to figure out the connection here. In all seriousness, dude, talking. Okay. We live in a clown world. Yeah, dude, there's this line from this song I listen to sometimes. It's a Lamb of God song. If you know the band Lamb of God, they're like a metal band. The song is called Grayscale, and during the breakdown, he says, I thought I would have known by now that the world is upside down. And I just thought that was such a cool line. Like, especially today, I'm like, I feel that. Like, I really feel that. Thought I would have known by now that the world is upside down. You know what band I think gets a little bit too much hate that I actually do like listening to sometimes is Five Finger Death Punch. I understand why they get hate. Like they're pretty cringe in some instances, but some of their songs are pretty. Like there's that one song, like Welcome to the Circus, and I'm like that's pretty good. It's a pretty good song. Because it's a bit dramatic, but I don't know. Oh man, you guys are really running with that. But you know what? I hope the rumors about Resident Evil 9 turn out to be true because, dude, I don't want Resident Evil 9 to be first person. I don't. I want Resident Evil 9 to be classic third person, over the shoulder, hopefully. Like when I say class, I don't mean like tank controls or anything, but I want it to be third person. I want to, the rumors claim that it's going to star Leon, and it's definitely going to be first person. Dude, I fucking hope not. I'll be real. Like, I never liked that change, man. I just don't. I don't like Resident Evil first person. I don't. Like, to me, that doesn't feel like Resident Evil. It doesn't. It feels like something else. And I don't know. I hope Resident Evil 9 is. I hope it's more similar to something like Resident Evil 4 and 5, to be honest. Maybe closer to 4. But that's just me, man. I will say we've gotten a few different rumors about oh yeah, that's true. That's true. You're saying it technically a third person isn't Resident Evil either. It's like a top down static camera. That's true. That's true. Am I going to start off Metal Gear Delta in third person or bird's eye? Dude, I'm going with the new camera. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to play with the new camera. Resident Evil 7 was great in first person, but third person is the best for survival horror. Like, I did like Resident Evil 7, but I don't know, man. The thing about Resident Evil 7 is it just didn't feel like Resident Evil, which isn't a problem, because I get like they felt like they had to reinvent Resident Evil, and so I totally understand why they went in that direction. It was a great horror game, but to me, it just didn't feel like Resident Evil. It felt like a different game, a good game, but a different game. And I don't know. I'm wondering if the rumors are true. The rumors for Resident Evil 9 are is it's going to star Leon. It's going to be I think they said it's going to be third person. It's going to be set on an island. It's going to be like somewhat open world, and I'm like it sounds super interesting to me. It sounds very different. So we'll see, man. We'll see what they end up doing. I do feel like though that Resident Evil 9 ultimately will be very different from 7 and 8. I get that feeling. Maybe that's what I'm hoping for. 5 and 6 were not horror games. I agree with that. Yeah, I want them to go closer to 4. 4 to me was good because it was very action oriented and it was a little bit silly as well. I mean, all the Resident Evil games are a little bit silly, but it still had that kind of like pretty good blend of it was somewhat horror, but a lot of action as well. So I feel like if they want to go back to that, don't go full action, maybe not full horror either. But there you go. At the very least, man, Resident Evil 9 is confirmed. Capcom confirmed it pretty casually. I do wonder, and this is just going to be like my own speculation here. I do wonder if the reason why they were willing to just kind of name drop Resident Evil 9 is because a reveal is coming soon. If I want to go like full blown Sony pony mode here, PlayStation September event, PS5 Pro reveal, one of the big games that they reveal, Resident Evil 9. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. Any leaks on the possible setting of R9? Yeah, apparently the leaks claim it's going to be set on a like South Asian island. That was the rumor. We haven't really heard much since, but yeah, because of that, a lot of people are thinking they are going to lean much more towards like Asian horror, which would be cool. That'd actually be pretty sick. All right. We do have one more topic here before we close out the stream, guys, and that is about Dead Rising. This is coming from PlayStation Lifestyle. Capcom's Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster has a confirmed release date, and both a digital and physical edition are planned. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster will hit PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and Steam on September 19th, 2024, so right around the corner, in digital form. So specifically, September 19th in digital form. A physical release is going to arrive in November. So very important. If you are looking forward to this remaster and you want a physical copy, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. I hate that. I mean, I'm glad they're doing a physical release, but I don't understand why it's staggered. It says a digital deluxe edition will bring a horde of costumes and background music options based on classic Capcom franchises such as Resident Evil, Mega Man, and Street Fighter. The updated version of the 2006 classic features improved visuals, controls, and an autosave function. If you pre-order the game, you'll earn yourself a classic 2006 Frank West costume, just in case the new version doesn't do it for you. So key features: improved graphics, experience Williamette Parkview Mall being overrun by hordes of zombies like never before in up to 4K resolution at 60 frames per second. Updated character models, introducing new high-end character modeling for Frank West, the unhinged psychopaths, NPCs like Brad, Jesse, Isabella, and the beloved Madonna, survivors for the outbreak, and the seemingly endless wave of zombies. They're going to have different languages this time, like full support. Quality of life improvements, numerous adjustments, and highly requested features have been added to the game, like Frank West now has the ability to move while aiming. Aspiring photojournalists can customize action shots with filters to get the best glam shot. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster now has an autosave functionality. Need a bathroom break? Don't worry. See, they're thinking about it. All NPC and survivor interactions are now fully voiced. New and improved NPC behaviors, real-time lighting and shadow effects, more intuitive and user-friendly controls, and a newly fine-tuned user interface. So, what do you guys think? Are you guys hyped for this? Like, Dead Rising. I was never a huge fan of Dead Rising. Like, I like Dead Rising. I never had a problem with it. I just never really got super into it. King Sam, you're saying you got the platinum for Dead Rising? Don't know if you're going to do it again. Yeah, I wonder if the trophies will be the same. I mean, I'm assuming they'll have a lot of the same trophies, but I could see them maybe changing it up, adding some different ones. I played Dead Rising 4 and 3, and I didn't really care for either of them. I thought that they were fine. I'm like, yeah, these are fine games, but they didn't like hook me or anything. So I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be something I jump on or not. It would be cool to play it, but it's just the timing of it. It's coming out in September. I feel like I'm going to be playing a lot of other games when it comes out, but we'll see. Even if I am, I could maybe see it being a game when there's like a drought or something, and I don't, I'm caught up on everything I want to play. Maybe I'll give it a shot. But I wanted to just go over these details with you. I think I'm most surprised by how soon it's coming out. Like, they announced it, and then boom, it's coming out. Pretty cool. I always appreciate that. Yeah, wasn't the original Dead Rising, like when it first came out, was a 360 exclusive or something? You know, back when exclusives mattered to Xbox. It did eventually come to PlayStation, though, right? Dead Rising wasn't the same since the first game. Say Left 4 Dead 2 is the best zombie game of all time. I think I can agree with that. Yeah. That's what I was really into. Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. Yeah, Left 4 Dead 2, I would say, is better because obviously they made improvements and stuff, and then they added all the old maps, the old, cast of characters, and yeah, I loved Left 4 Dead, man. I can't believe they never made a third one. Can't believe they never made a third one. And yeah, it never came to PlayStation either. What the fuck, man? That was like one of the reasons why I was so hyped for the 360, dude. I remember, you know? Is that coming through the mic, by the way? Oh, sorry, guys. I gotta pause my stream. You like Left 4 Dead 1 better? Dude, Left 4 Dead 1, I will say, like, Left 4 Dead 1, it does have a oh my God, what is he screaming about out there? Hold on. All right. Hopefully it's not coming through as much now. But Left 4 Dead 1 has like a special kind of, yeah, it has a special place in my heart because I do like 2, and obviously the mechanics are a little bit different in 2, a little bit more updated. Oh man, you guys are never gonna live that down, huh? That's funny. But Left 4 Dead 1, I don't know. I just remember the first area, making your way to Mercy Hospital. I'll never forget that when I played it, I'm like, dude, this game might be like the greatest zombie game I've ever played. Like when I say the greatest, it was more like I feel like this is the zombie game I always wanted. This is exactly it, you know? It was it was awesome, dude. I wish we would get a Left 4 Dead 3. But guys, I think this is going to wrap up today's stream. Yeah, yeah. I gotta go, man. I gotta go. No, but really, we did finish all the topics. Again, not a whole lot going on right now. So I just listen, before I wrap the stream up, I do want to thank you guys seriously for still tuning in. You know, I know that we're all kind of at this point where we're just waiting for some like, you know, some more exciting PlayStation news to talk about. And this, you know, there's no rumors, there's no leaks, there's no official news. It's pretty bleh right now. So the fact that you guys are still showing up and tuning in, um, I really do appreciate that. So I think this stream turned out pretty well. We had a couple of bonus auxiliary topics there, you know. So hopefully you enjoyed those too. But yeah, I think that this covers it. So guys, we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do members wise. What I have on the docket for the remainder of the week, I don't know what days exactly. I plan to do a members lounge and a members gameplay stream, where I don't know. Depending on what happens, we could do Demon Souls first and then the First Descendant. But if I play the First Descendant, it's really good. Maybe we could do that. And Shems comes in at the end here and drops another membership gift. Shems, thank you so much for that, buddy. Yeah, I always got to be careful with my outros here. Because like not the last stream, but the one prior to that, I was like about to hit end stream and we ended up going up to like 100 members. So I always got to be careful, and I always try to give like a little bit of a. I guess this will be like the warning, right? If you want to gift any more memberships, if you want to drop any more support, now is the time to do it because the stream is about to end. But yeah, I really appreciate what you guys do for me and Boss and this community, and also want to make sure to give a shout out to Devil Shooter. Devil Shooter does the timestamps. You guys know this. He does a great job. If you see him in the comments, make sure you give him some thanks. I know he really appreciates that. It means a lot to him. I know he really appreciates the community. So Devil Shooter, thank you so much for that, buddy. And yeah, so everybody who dropped membership gifts today, thank you so much. You guys are, you know, awesome. Seriously, I could not do this without your support. So thank you so much. And everybody who dropped the super chat, also want to make sure you guys get some thanks as well. Any direct support goes a long way. And yeah, I guess we'll just have to kind of see what the remainder of this week brings. We'll have to see what happens, man. I don't know. I don't know how slow things are going to be throughout the summer. I think at this point, most PlayStation fans are just playing games and kind of patiently waiting to see, like, is Sony going to do the thing in September? Are they doing the thing in September or not? So we'll have to just ride the wave, so to speak, or go with the flow. So yeah. All right, guys. Boss, you gonna say goodbye? Okay, he's totally knocked out. Boss, bro. Boss, are you alive? Okay. Oh, okay. Wow, he was in a deep sleep, dude. Sorry. I'm like, bro, are you okay? That catnip knocked him the fuck out, bro. Now he's like got to clean himself. I'm sorry. I made him dirty, apparently. My bad. I just wanted to ask if you want to say goodbye. Boss says goodbye too. All right, guys, that does it for the stream. I will catch you all in the next one. So, yeah, until then, take care, everyone. Yeah, he was wearing me too, right? He's good. It was looking spooky there for a second, right? Like, bro, you like OD on snacks? What's going on here? He's good. He's good. All right, take care, everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.